Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is moment of silence. Before we do the moment of silence, I would like to mention two names. Sam Vinci, who passed away on May 31st at the age of 98 years old. He was a World War II Army Air Corps veteran and a resident of Homer Glen. And Juanita from All Around Amusements. With the carnival just around the corner, I'd like to recognize her for her efforts to putting smiles on the children's faces, especially in Homerfest. Thank you. Clerk, can you please call the roll? No.
Trustee Mason.
Present.
Trustee Reinders. Trustee McNaughton. Trustee Consolino.
Present.
Trustee Fialco.
Present.
Trustee Stylen.
Present.
Mayor Knightsky-Trokey.
Present. Next is community recognition. We have the 2023 Big Tree Champion winners. Melissa and Trustee Consolino, would you like to head that up for us? Wherever you feel more comfortable. Sure.
I got a mic for you.
Carmen, air conditioning maybe a little bit. Thank you.
Welcome to the awards night for the Village of Homer Glen Big Tree Champion Contest. This is the 5th year for this contest, and we are very pleased that we will be adding one new tree species, a white pine, to our Big Tree Champion list, as well as 10 winners that replace previous Big Tree champions. This is an important award that recognizes the need to appreciate and protect the natural environment within the Village of Homer Glen. Champion trees are individual trees which are exceptional examples of their species because of their size, age, and rarity. The Village of Homer Glen was founded and incorporated in large part due to the desires of its citizens to preserve the unique and diverse components of the natural environment with the village and take steps to assist in further protection and beautification of that environment. Through the efforts of the Environment Committee, the village created the Big Tree Champion Contest. This award recognizes citizens that have helped to identify and preserve the biggest of our mature trees in the village. We have 11 winners in this year's Big Tree Champion Contest. During the award presentation, Mayor Christina Knightsky-Trokey will present the award certificates to the recipients. Pictures will be taken as the certificates are presented, and these photos will also be available for viewing on the Village of Homer Glen website. Our first award goes to Jerry and Barb Rathke. They have identified a white pine tree with a circumference measurement of 67.5 inches and a shingle oak tree with a circumference of 81.5 inches.
But you guys should be in the photos, no?
No, it's okay.
No? Let's take a photo over here, right here.
Mr. Treese is the one that measures, and he's not with us, is he, tonight? Joe, why don't you come up here with us, please? You should be in the picture, sir.
Yeah, somebody, yes. Yeah, Joe, you should be in the picture.
This is Mr. Therese. Joe's our wonderful member of the Environment Committee that goes out and measures all the trees for us. So this isn't possible without him. Next we have John and Frida Zutant. They have identified a bald cypress tree with a circumference of 70 inches. It's okay.
Right between us.
Next, we have James R. Fensel, who has identified an eastern cottonwood tree with a circumference of 127 inches. Thank you.
Big tree. Nice to see you. Come on, Mr. Fensel, get right in the middle there. Yep, look right at Gia.
Yeah, no, they're great.
Thank you. May I say a word?
Sure. Jen, or, I'm sorry, Trustee, if you'd like to say a word.
Oh, sure.
Is that all right?
Absolutely. Thank you.
What has happened is we moved into this village not very long ago, and I didn't have an eye for this sort of vegetation, but my son-in-law, Kurt Mason, does have such an eye. So he identified this tree when he learned about your process. And this tree is an eastern cottonwood. This will only take a moment. This tree is an eastern cottonwood. They usually live like 70 to 100 years. It's almost like a well-lived human. And under the conditions we have here, which is good soil down there on the, what am I trying to say? Oh, on Spring Creek, we have the good soil and sunlight and what have you. These things are known to go to 200, 300, 400 years. We don't know, of course. We're not going to cut it down and count the annular rings. You know, it's going to stay right where it is. Now, this tree, of course, we didn't create the tree. We are merely its custodians, and it's up to us to look after its proper care so that it can continue to contribute to the rustic charm of our village of Homer Glen.
Thank you, Mr. Fensel. Next, we have John and Margaret Tofanelli. They have identified a mulberry tree with a circumference of 127 inches. Okay, they're not here. Next, we have Bruce Rogers, who has identified a pin oak tree with a circumference of 130 inches. Next, we have Antonio and Marilyn Maloney. Malone, sorry, okay. And they had identified a sugar maple tree with a circumference of 159 inches. Next, we have Don Stonis, who has identified a silver maple tree with a circumference of 166 inches. Next, we have Lawrence and Kathy Anderson. They have identified a willow tree with a circumference of 167.5 inches. Thank you. And then the following two award recipients were unable to attend the meeting tonight. That was Lawrence Knipp, who has identified a blue spruce tree with a circumference measurement of 55.25 inches, and Marianne O'Malley and Glen Bond. They have identified a red oak tree with a circumference of 143 inches. So thank you for everyone that attended this evening and showing your support for this important award event. Mayor Netschke-Trakey and the village trustees, thank you for your support. A special thank you to the Environment Committee members for organizing and coordinating this contest, and a special thank you to Joe Therese for going out and measuring these tree nominations. Thank you, Joe.
One person who was not thanked was Chairman Trustee Consolino for her efforts with the Environment Committee.
Thank you.
We do have three more actually recognitions today. They're not on the agenda, but Clerk Bilski would like to recognize somebody as well.
We wanted to recognize the Lockport Township High School varsity softball team for winning sectionals and the boys varsity team for winning regionals and advancing on to the sectional championship.
Woo-hoo. Okay, I would like to recognize a couple of people. One thing I wanted to do was recognize the Boy Scout Troop 229 for their efforts in beautifying our village by placing 260 American flags around our community. They do this every Labor Day, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, Flag Day, which is today, and the 4th of July. If any residents are interested in having a flag put in their yard on these days, you can contact flags@bsa229.com. I would also like to recognize Commander Lou Zemke from the American Legion Post 2011. If you don't mind, Lou, would you please step up to the podium and talk about your fundraising efforts for Memorial Day and the poppy sales?
American Legion Post 2011 of Homer Glen. Short 5 years ago, we started the Legion here, and still 5 years later, there's a lot of people in Homer Glen that still don't know we have a Legion Post, but we are getting better. We're getting the word out, and we're getting a lot of help from the village. I want to say thank you to Madam Mayor, the village board, all the residents and businesses of Homer Glen. Your support and generosity this year was outstanding. A year ago, we raised $4,000 in the Poppy Drive. This year, over $9,000. Special thanks I want to give to Jewel Food Store and Blueberry Hill Restaurant for allowing the Legion to stand out in front of their businesses and give poppies for donations. I also want to thank the members of Post 2011 and the volunteers who stood out there for many hours collecting and giving out the poppies. Also, Jerry Murtis and Ed Kerfin, who co-chaired the Poppy Drive, which lasts for a month. It ends at the end of May. We also placed cans around the village with poppies at the following locations: Megaplex, Blueberry, Chili's, Davidson's, Mugshots, Cigar Lounge, Soft Cloth Wash, Sam Slots, Pelican Harry's, The Joint, Peppy Restaurant, Front Row, Chesden's, Nick's, Homer Cafe, Tavern in the Glen, Babalu Pizza, Patty B, Phoenix, the Car Show at Kono, the Board of Options Exchange Downtown, which contributed almost $1,600, and I want to thank them for allowing us to place the cans. That brought in almost $800. So thank you to those businesses. As I said, the Poppy Drive ended on May 31st. On Memorial Day, Post 2011 has a Memorial Day program at Marion Village, which is our headquarters. It's open to the public, and we probably had over 50 people. My goal is to have double that next year as the word gets out. We have that program to honor the veterans who fought in the many wars, men and women, given their lives and their limbs to keep us safe. We wouldn't be there if it wasn't for them. The program consisted of, we had a young lady, freshman from Lockport High School, Juliana Molinera, who sang the national anthem and God Bless America. She did a great job. A couple speakers I want to identify. One was McKenna Orico, who's a senior at Lockport High School, who spoke and gave her perspective of what Memorial Day means to the youth. Also, we had Beth Rogers, who filled in for the mayor who couldn't be there, and she spoke on behalf of Homer Glen. She was a past trustee, and Beth, as usual, did a great job. We also had a surprise guest. who showed up unannounced to me, but Mrs. America, Nicole Laha, who is a Homer Glen resident and also a past village trustee. Nicole came and spoke to the crowd, which they all appreciated. We ended the program with coffee and rolls for everybody in attendance. So if you remember next year for Memorial Day, we'll be there, we'll have a program. I hope you'll be there with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Okay, next on the agenda is amendments to the agenda. Do we have any amendments? Okay, hearing none. Approval of the agenda. Well, I guess we don't have to do that since we didn't have any amendments. Yeah? Okay, is there a motion to approve? Go ahead. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Can I do all in favor, or do I have to do a roll call? Do all in favor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is approval of the minutes. Is there a motion?
There were no minutes in the packet.
There should have been minutes, your minutes.
My minutes, no.
No? Okay, there's no minutes. All right, for public comment?
Nope.
There's no
Mayor
public
Treasurer,
comment.
No public comment.
Okay, we're moving right along. Reports and communication from the president and other officers. Manager Morella?
Hello, everybody. As we wind up for the Homer Fest, we are still looking for some volunteers. Just want to let everybody know that at homerfest.com you can register to do some volunteer work. We're looking for more of the evening hours. It seems like we're lacking some volunteers in those areas. So if anybody's willing to come out, it's a fun time. You get to meet new people. It's a great time to do a part for your community. And if you come out and volunteer, that'll be great. So the other thing, I don't have anything else. I'm all good. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I got a cold. And
All right, we'll move on to the trustees. Trustee Consolino, do you have anything?
Good evening. I just wanted to give everybody a little background on Flag Day. Nearly 250 years ago, on June 14th, 1777, the Continental Congress approved the design of a national flag. And this is why we now celebrate Flag Day on the anniversary of that resolution. Resolve, the flag of the 13 United States shall be 13 stripes, alternate red and white, that the Union be 13 stars, white on a blue field, representing a new constellation. There's the resolution that was adopted by the Continental Congress on June 14th, 1777, in the midst of the Revolutionary War. We don't know for sure who designed this first official flag, but the Library of Congress says most historians believe it was designed by Congressman Francis Hopkinson and sewn early on by Philadelphia seamstress Betsy Ross. The new first flag saw battle 3 months later. According to the Department of Veteran Affairs, flag was carried in the Battle of Brandywine. So that's all I have to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Consolino. Trustee Mason?
Yes, good evening, everybody. I would just like you to know that our committees, at least mine, are now up and running. We have Public Services and Safety Committee that held its first meeting last week. There are some misguided untruths that float around out there, and myself, the mayor, and Lieutenant Taylor, who's doing a great job of keeping us all informed and safe, has told me that if something urgent comes to light, he will bring it to our attention. I will definitely bring it to yours. Also, he's done a great job of creating a contingency plan for the well-being and the safety of our residents during Homer Fest. I won't go into details, but again, Lieutenant Taylor and the Safety Committee is doing a great job on that, and includes everyone. We also had our Behavioral Health and Addiction Recovery Committee meeting, and Mr. Baber's doing a great job of putting that together, and we're working on some surveys and pamphlets that will be passed out at the Homer Fest. And I believe we're going to have the truck there too, Joe. So please stop by, say hi to those people. It is a problem that we have, and it's not just Homer Glen or Lockport, or it's the entire country. So anything we can do to bring visibility to that is greatly appreciated. Some people, and I think it touches everybody when it comes to drug addiction. I think everybody's family somewhere down the line has had some kind of incident or family member that has some issue that's underlying. And it's great if you guys just stop by, grab a pamphlet, fill out the survey so we know how to attack this moving forward. That's it.
Thank you, Trustee Mason. Trustee Fielko?
Yes, some of my thunder has been stolen with Homerfest, but just to move on forward, Homerfest is in 8 days. The countdown has begun. All information can be found at homerfest.com. The first night for fireworks is on Thursday, June 22nd. Is the night of the fireworks. The fest starts a lot earlier. You can find that information again at homerfest.com. We have prepared throughout the year. The committee that I have has worked tirelessly to put this together with all the different facets of it. And we'll make the announcement of the people at the fest who have contributed at that time and maybe after the fest too. But nevertheless, we're ready to go. And as far as speaking with Lieutenant Taylor and the mayor this past 2 weeks, we have a plan put together. Everybody's asking, are you going to cancel? Are you going to do it? What are we going to do? We've got all our bases covered. We have extra security, and I just want to make everybody feel welcome at Homerfest, and you will be safe. We can't tell you everything that we've done to prepare, but know that we are prepared. We are Will County. We are not Cook County. We have a state's attorney, Glasgow, that stands up for this county. He stands up for this village. And anyway, I don't think we have to worry when it comes to that end of it. We're not going to shut anything. We cannot penalize the many for the infractions of the few. I've said that a few times this week, but we're not have no plans of shutting down Homerfest. Unless we had real bad weather, which I won't talk about because we're not going to. But in addition to that, for the fest, yes, we would like you to bring lawn chairs, your blankets, and your sprinkle ponchos just in case. But the reason for that is we have an open concept stage this year. All the previous years it has been inside of a tent. This year it is not inside of a tent. There's a big main stage. There's an open area similar to Parkview Bank in Rosemont, similar to Taste of Orland Park. And the sound work production people that I've worked with said, Dan, because I asked them, are we ready for outside sound? And what they had said is 95% of what we do for Fest in bands are outside now. They don't have them inside tents. Although if you go to smaller towns where they don't have the room, sometimes that is still done. What we can't allow at the fest is coolers, outside beverage or food, and umbrellas. So other than that, plan on coming to Homerfest and have a great time like we always do. The first day of summer is on that, I believe it's on the 21st. And so that's a great way to kick off summer coming to Homerfest. And just to compliment what you said, Jennifer, actually today is Flag Day. It was a great thing that you mentioned that in the history about Flag Day, but today is actually Flag Day. So display yours proudly. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Fielko. Trustee Stylen?
Just that tonight we're going to be appointing members for the new Community Development Committee. I'm really looking forward to reporting in the future months and creating some nice community pride. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Stylen. Village Clerk?
I have nothing to report.
Okay. Village Attorney?
Just to apologize to the mayor and the board and the staff for being late tonight and the citizens, so my apologies for being late.
We didn't notice.
Public safety officials? Thank you. Okay, I'm next. Couple things. The village has started a veteran sign-up sheet. If you can check out our Facebook page or our website, if you're a veteran or know of a veteran that's in Homer Glen, please register them with the village. We're not sending them crazy emails or anything. It's more or less just so we know where they are and they can be involved in our programs when we have something special. I know at Homerfest on Sunday we have a beautiful veterans thing planned. Township Trustee Mike Bonomo is put on, and Michelle Kerfin are putting on this beautiful event on Sunday. So if you know a veteran or want to come and thank a veteran, please attend on Sunday. I'm not sure the exact times. 1?
Well, it's a combination of Senior Acknowledgement Day and Veterans Day. The Veterans portion will be from 2 to 2:45, and the music that'll complement that time period from 3 to 5 is Nick at Night, 7-piece orchestra band.
Thank you, Trustee Fialko. The other thing is I wanted to let you know that there will be a Vet Palooza put on by the Disabled Patriot Fund on August 12th. If you guys are interested in that, you can check out the website on that too. I wanted to thank the All Around Amusements for their generous donation of stuffed animals for Special Needs Day. They really stepped up to the plate this year. As I mentioned Juanita earlier, her goal was to put smiles on children's faces, and her husband had donated an additional dollar amount this year to really amp up the toys. So I wanted to thank them and the FEST committee for working amazingly with the Ability Awareness Committee. I'm hoping this year is a huge success. One funny thing, I did not realize that Homer Glen does not have its own flag, so I know the staff is working on designing a Village of Homer Glen flag, which I thought we had one, but I was told we didn't. I thought we did too, but I was told we did not. Well, that's what I was told, that's what I said, but then I was told that's not the official flag, so I was just told that we were going to be working on one. So,
Flag day.
okay. So I guess you don't. There you go.
You're already done.
Reminder that the next meeting on June 28th is canceled. We will be back on July 12th. There's been a lot of discussion or emails that I've been receiving regarding disc golf. We are working behind the scenes to figure those details out. It's kind of up in the air right now, but we'll all get together and talk about that at some point at a meeting. Also wanted to congratulate all the graduating classes of 2023. And let's see what else. Oh, Fest. So one thing left on the Fest. Township Trustee Mike Bonomo and myself will be raising money on Saturday from 12:30 to 2:30. We're going to be taking whipped cream pies in the face to raise money for our Ability Awareness Committee. We are also having a dunk tank. We're looking for volunteers to go in the dunk tank to raise money for the Ability Awareness Committee as well. I've had some offers already from some big names in town, so if there's anybody else that's interested, please let the village staff know. Also, I was just notified that there is a black Nissan Rogue with the lights on running in the parking lot, so if that's anybody's car, your car is on. Okay, next under my report, I have invited Jim Petrakos, from TRIA to explain a few things regarding the Veterans Memorial, or the previous Veterans Memorial.
Does it work? Okay, it works. Good evening, board. Again, Mayor had asked me to kind of put together a synopsis of everything that's kind of happened in the last, I guess it would be 8 years of everything that happened in the park. There's been dozens and dozens of meetings and community meetings and so forth. So I kind of took this opportunity to kind of just say, here's some high-level highlights of all the presentations, kind of the last ones of all these phases, so I can kind of bring the board up to speed on what's been said, what's been out there, what's been decided already, what designs are already out there. And then also taking the opportunity, because there was a lot of misinformation that was out there, kind of dispelling some of the mistruths out there of just saying, here's everything that's actually happening that we've done so far. So introduction-wise, again, I'm Jim Petrakos. I'm a managing principal and co-owner of TRIA Architecture. I'm not only just an owner of TRIA Architecture, I live in Lockport. I'm in Homer Township. I'm a member of the community. I coach with Homer Athletic Club. My kids go to 33C. I help coach on the Stallions. So I'm very vested in this community, other than just being an architect that just got hired for this presentation, or for all our work here. Real quick about our firm, we're not some fly-by-night firm. We have 2 office locations, our main one in Burr Ridge. We've been in business for over 19 years. And in that 19 years, we've done over $750 million worth of construction. And our staff, again, not a small firm, 24 architectural staff, includes the 3 principals. Of course, we've got interior designers, interns, and you can kind of see our breakdown in terms of diversity here, minority staff and female staff. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is kind of really going back to the original. There's a lot of the questions came up of how did the village start working with TRIA, right? And this is where I actually kind of call it, this is where kind of some of the rumor mill, I'm going to call the mistruths that are out there. Wanted to just bring those up, right, so we can kind of talk about them up and publicly. There's been a lot of comments about no bid architect, no bid contractor. I get it. It's political season. This all kind of started 2 years ago with that political session. It kind of continued into this session. The cul-de-sac project kind of was the culmination of everything and just kind of set everything off. And that's where our firm kind of got dragged into it because we are the architect for that. So I want to dispel some of the issues that are out there publicly. So again, you don't bid architects. Let's see if this actually works. So there is a statute that is 50 ILCS 510 that everyone can look up. This is the Local Government Professional Services Selection Act. As you can see here highlighted, oh, it's not showing up actually. Let's change presentation. I'll have to click over. 1 second. Sorry for my background there, right? Kids. That's I don't know, it's not coming up on that one. Oh, here we go. Okay, we'll do it this way. All right, so you can actually see this here. Sorry for that. 50 ILCS 510, this is straight from Illinois' website. As you can see here, architectural, engineering, and land surveying services are to be brought through with a request for qualifications process, the Professional Services Selection Act. If you go down here, the intent of this, and if you read this, right, in no case shall a political subdivision prior to selecting a firm for negotiation under Section 7 seek formal or informal submission of verbal or written estimates of costs or proposals in terms of dollars, hours required, percentage of construction costs, or any other measure of compensation. This is the legal reason for this. As you're hiring an architect, the intent is you're hiring an architect on their qualifications, not the lowest bid architect. You probably do the same thing on your residential if you hired somebody residentially to do that. Once you kind of go through that, then you can start talking about pricing. So there was a process through the village for an RFQ process. TRIA was not selected at that. There was another architectural firm that started this village hall. And then they went through that process. When the election went through, they were unsatisfied with the current architect, so they let him go. And they were under a timeline, so they asked me to take a look at what can actually happen in this for the village hall. That's when I got hired. And without the RFQ, as you can see here, except home rule units, this is an exception where you don't have to go through that RFQ process each and every time if you're a home rule unit. So it actually bypasses that process. That's how we got hired to expedite the process and the design for the village hall and so forth. So, and we came out cheaper than the original architect. And on our original project, we actually saved more money on that project from the original estimates. We actually compensated for our costs. So just wanted to bring that one up there. So if we go back to the PowerPoint, So that was the contracts. So that was the actual RFQ process. In terms of contract, again, rumor mill, TRIA would get a cut from their subs. As an architect, I'm not design build. I do not have contractors. I don't build anything. I don't pick up a hammer. I don't do any of that stuff. I have engineers, sound consultants, landscape architects underneath me. We don't get cuts from it. That's not how our profession works. We hire engineers to do the job that you put forward for us. The other comment was, on top of that, TRIA would make an additional 15 to 20% profit. I'd love to have that if that was actually the case, but it's not. As you can kind of see here, I'll do this presentation again.
As long as you're pausing, is it less than 10 or 15 or 20% though, somewhere in there?
I will explain that to you right now here. So B101. So as you can see here, September of 2015 is when the board actually hired us officially with a contract. It was a master contract. The village board actually voted on it. It's between Village of Homer Glen, TRIA Architecture, as you can see there. It's a long contract, but I highlighted the areas for you to look at. To dispel
Mr. Petrakis, do you have copies of this PowerPoint for any of us?
I don't, but I can get that to you.
Yeah, that would be appreciated since we weren't aware that you were going to be here tonight at all.
So as you can see here, Article 11, compensation. This is the highlighted area. Our compensation that we worked out with the village is everything that's being done per construction. So if a project costs, as you can see there, the project scale, anywhere between $1 million and $1.49 million, our fee is 9.5% of that cost of the work. That is in our contract. So it's all based on that percentage. So on some of the projects, the bigger projects that were there, they're down to 8%. I think that was your question.
That would be all parts of the contract too, because you were charging 10% on top of printing fees at one time, and that came up during a board meeting. So I know you've got it listed here with your numbers, but I know for a fact something was sent to a printer where you charge 10% on what the printer charged, and that's where people started getting, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but it is true, we don't have you down here as a workshop, so a little bit of a surprise. I don't mind hearing you, but I appreciate you taking a question or two while we are in this process.
Yeah, again, I'm putting this information together so you actually do that. Reimbursables are industry standard. If the village has a choice of actually printing it themselves, or if they actually do that work through us,
I know, but your first line says 0 to $499,999, and I know the printing fee was less than $200, and you charge 10% of that on top of it. So it may have been part of some contract, but you still had it there.
It also says time and material or negotiated lump sum.
For projects that are from 0 to $499,000. So if you follow the scale, any projects that are smaller than that, those are something that we would negotiate with the village to talk about what our actual fee would be.
But the printing fee, Jim, I want to just focus on this so can we work from there. The printing fee wasn't from 0 to $499. It didn't fall in that category, and you were still charging 10%. So maybe you could explain that too.
I will find that for you. Those are.
The point of this was to clarify some of the miscommunication. He's not done. If we could just let him get through, and then you can ask questions at new business or old business or whatever you'd like. How do you know?
We have a workshop, right?
A workshop, or this would have been on the agenda.
Right, but as you guys.
Down here is a workshop, so it's hard to this has never happened before. That's
Right.
all I'm saying.
I understand.
I don't mean to be rude.
No, I understand. But at the last few board meetings, a lot of questions were being brought up about the Veterans Memorial. I had asked where should I put this? This was the best opportunity to put it here for him. So the board, Jim, have you ever had the opportunity to speak to any board members, this current board or the previous one before this? Have you ever asked or approached, or have they ever approached you?
No, I went to a couple of parks community meetings, committee meetings. And that's when I was approached by Trustee Reinders and just said, we're not interested in TRIA, we're just going to go with the contractor route. So this board, from 2 years ago on, we really haven't had conversations. I haven't explained any of this stuff, and that's probably where a lot of the kind of the misinformation is coming from, and just understanding.
So basically, I was just getting asked a bunch of questions that I did not have answers to. At the last few meetings, people have come up to the podium, have thrown questions at me that I didn't have answers to. I met with Mr. Petrakos and asked if the questions I was asked. Being unable to reiterate that all to you, I had asked him just to repeat what he had said to me. Now, if we could just let him get through it, and then you guys can ask your questions after, that would be great. Because maybe he'll answer the questions as he goes through. I don't know, I haven't seen this yet.
I just want to know why it wasn't on the agenda.
Because I have it under my report.
That's not part, well, okay.
Well, if I'm getting asked questions and I want to report on something that I've been asked, that's where
I don't mind finishing here,
Yeah.
but honestly, it should have been on the agenda. It should have been a workship item. This isn't 5 bullet points, this is a whole presentation.
Jim, how long is this presentation?
So,
I can finish it.
I don't mind though.
Wait, hold on, please. Jim, how long is this?
There's a lot of slides, but I can finish them in 15 minutes.
Okay, well, here, we do have item, excuse me, we do have item O. We can open it, we can put it on a workshop instead. Can we do that?
I'd rather you just finish. No, it's just that we're kind of saying we shouldn't ask questions, but in
I'm
the
not saying you
workshop,
can't
we
ask
usually do.
questions, Trustee Fialko. I'm saying let him get through. Maybe he'll answer the
But
question.
we don't normally wait till somebody's done to ask the questions. We ask as we proceed. And
Well,
that, because look how long it is. I mean, to go
He
back
has
is
a
crazy.
presentation, so maybe he'll answer the questions. Go ahead.
Okay. So to answer the question, reimbursable expenses are items that the village, that are above and beyond the actual cost of the work that the village asks TRIA Architecture to do on their behalf, like printing. So on top of that, so if the TRIA is doing it and it's not part of the negotiated fee because it's not a construction cost, the cost of the work comes from the contractor. Cost of printing comes from the village. So those are reimbursable expenses, and that's the line that I highlighted there for you. But as you go through, I think there were other questions in terms of the 20%, where some of the confusion came in. So I think it was a couple board meetings ago saying that TRIA would get a 20% profit or 20% fee on top of this. As you can see here, here's all the phases from schematic design, design development. Please pay attention to these, I'll refer to them later, right? Construction documents, bidding and negotiation, construction phase. During that phase, if I was to complete the construction phase, say, of the cul-de-sac that got stopped, I would get paid 20% of my fee. So my fee is broken up into that 100% here. So I know we've had, Trustee Fialko, we had that conversation where you stopped the project, the cul-de-sac project during construction. That money that was left at 20%. We didn't get paid a portion of that 20%. So that just breaks up our fee.
I would like to correct you there. I didn't stop anything, the board stopped anything. I might have motioned it, but that's a board decision, not a me decision.
I totally understand. I know we had the conversation about the contract and breaking.
We may have had a conversation, but I did not stop any project. The board stopped your project.
I thought you just said you didn't speak to any of the previous board about any of this.
About the design. We talked about the cul-de-sac closing. The cul-de-sac, the board
That's not
wanted
what
to
you
shut
said.
it down. Okay.
I don't, can you just clarify where we had that conversation that you're speaking of, though? Because other than the board here?
We had a conversation about what we had to do with the contractor that was closing up the cul-de-sac. If you remember, we met in the conference room out here. We actually said, how do we close this contractor out? And then what would be our fees? How do we close TRIA out? Because the contractor, you wanted to stop the cul-de-sac project, but he had materials, he had labor, he had performance and payment bonds that we had actually, the village had to pay. And that was a big discussion about how you actually...
About the material, the lighting and the cables?
Yep. Yes, sir.
That was about that, and not putting the cul-de-sac road in. It wasn't about putting the cul-de-sac road in, it was about not putting the cul-de-sac road in.
Correct.
So,
Stopping the...
and that was a meeting with the village manager, myself, and a few other people. I don't remember the date of that, but that conversation did happen, you're right.
Yep. So, so before we, in terms of contract, right, the first time Tree architecture was part of it. The park actually got worked on, was a presentation, was planning resources. Planning resources got hired through an RFQ process. They hired tree architecture to do the architectural portion of it. So PRI was the main contract with the village. They did your comprehensive plan for the entire Heritage Park. And as a refresher, I kind of threw in all these slides for everyone to kind of touch on these, but this was one of the last presentations that PRI did for the board and the community. You can kind of talk about everything they did, their design philosophy, but public input that they actually had. I know there was a question about, was there any public input on Heritage Park? Where did it actually come from? Again, there were a lot of focus groups that were done, officials, we had workshops with that, and the residents, there was an online forum, My Sidewalks, and there were open houses. I know they talked about with seniors, they talked with Homer Athletic Club and a couple other groups. Here's some of the input that they presented at that meeting. So again, initial concepts, how they broke up the entire site, how they actually talked about all those different areas of the entire, doesn't look like this now because the design process has developed this a lot further. This was the original conceptual plan. I'm just showing this for everyone so they kind of understand that portion of it. PRI created then a implementation plan. How do you actually get this all done? I know there's a question about was disc golf in the original plans. Disc golf was in the original plans all the way from PRI's plans. You can see them all the way up here above active core. So the next one you know is active core project. That's one where TRIA got hired again to actually do the active core project. Everyone knows how that layout went. That's essentially all I'm showing for that project. I just wanted to inform you that the timeline of everything. While that was going on, next project was Heritage Park, was a master planning. The board didn't know how to actually, the board back then didn't know how to actually attack the rest of the park and which order and what dollars and so forth. How to actually put money and funds together for all these. So we did a process of just saying, we can either do it all together or we can break it up into phases. So that's when we took actual PRI's plans. Everything in gray that you see there is stuff that at that point was already done. So the ring road was done, active core was done, the 319 grant was done. All the other areas you can see here, the cul-de-sac, you can see the sled hill, disc golf, the village hall with the village green and the amphitheater.
Jim, could you just explain a 319 grant so the rest of the board understands it wasn't here for it? What a 319 grant is, just briefly?
I didn't work on that project, but it's
no, but you mentioned it in your conversation.
Yeah, that was done through.
I know what it is, I'm just saying for the rest of the board.
My understanding of a 319 grant, HR Green did that project for you, but it was a natural resource area that they received the grant for.
And it bordered the cul-de-sac road, correct?
Correct. Yep, okay. You can see it there on the drawing. It's right next to it.
All right, thank you. But you can before you continue, can I just say one more thing though? A 319 grant was gotten so we could preserve that it remains, what do they call that, Carmen? We're a natural preserve, so we can't build onto that land. Then there was another grant that they tried getting for the cul-de-sac road that was never gotten. It was for $700 and some thousand. And if I remember correctly, when we looked at the price of this job, it was about $50,000 per parking spot. So go ahead.
For the cul-de-sac?
For the cul-de-sac road, okay.
Yes. As you can kind of see here, there's other parking spots, parking areas down here along 151st, and then the fishing pier that was there. I'm bringing up this drawing here because that was the kind of the nexus of saying, how do we break this park apart, and how do we estimate it, and how do we kind of do certain things. That's when we actually did this diagram here to sit there and say, nope. Take every one of those projects, all how they were broken, and if you did one project per year. And from then, we just said each project, each year, just in order, plus escalation, how you would have, and I can't see it, 15 million, 18 million on that one side, when you actually did it. Then we said if we did all the projects in one over here, how it would be significantly less. But the village board at that point just said, we're not doing everything, we can't afford the entire project at once, so let's progress further on how we can actually break this up. So that progressed into, here's one of the presentations about the master plan. It was an update on the active core. We updated them on that chart, and we did estimates. And if you see here, on every estimate, there's a 1A and 1B. After dozens of meetings, we actually said, okay, we can't afford all of disc golf or any of these phases. How can we break it up between a phase 1A and a 1B? Here's a minimal, so which was 1A. 1B was the after, if we got more money, we can actually do other things and do them later. That was under your village manager, Mertens, that we did this exercise on. So you can see all of them have a different phase, have a B to them. So we started breaking each phase in half now, as you can see. So you can see here Village Hall and Christmas tree and 151st Street streetscape. This was back when everyone thought 151st Street was going to be expanded, so we had to do something along 151st Street. It was when everyone was having the Christmas tree lighting, and it was supposed to be back here. I know that has moved, and that's probably one of the reasons why the Veterans Memorial moved back here. But it was also doing all the landscaping, because when we did the Village Hall, we did no landscaping outside. The board didn't want to do any landscaping or anything outside Village Hall. So that was left barren, so we said, in this project, we'll take care of that, or at least identify it. So you'll start seeing all these estimates as they develop, as they progress, as they're moving forward. So at that point, the board said, we need more detail on what this actually looks like, right? What do we get for the sled hill? What do we get for the open play area? What do we get for Veterans Memorial and so forth? So they hired us to actually do schematic design, the next step in the design that we talked about. So they said, let's do the schematic design on each one of these. And I've got the dates here and so forth. So here's one of the last presentations. This was one of those that we actually talked about how we got here, all the meetings, when we met with all the design teams, the committee of the wholes, the board meetings, so forth. We talked about finance funding. These are all public meetings. Talked about community feedback for that portion of it, board feedback, design team consensus. So everyone said we can do the minimal projects in 2020, or we can do the select projects in 2020 in these portions. And as you can see, they started progressing further. So they now started front-end loading some of the projects and then doing all the other ones as we progressed out. And you can see that we did that so we can show that there's an escalation on each year as you went out. Again, so this was the consensus from the team to actually move forward from the schematic design, option D.
Option D is what the village board voted on.
Correct, right there. That one. So that was open play.
Where are you at on option what?
D.
Area here.
So option D, you see it at the top? So option 2A, open play, 3, sled hill, 4A, Village Hall, Veterans Memorial. The next one, 4BA, was Village Green and Amphitheater. 5A was the activity area. 7 was the cul-de-sac road, and 10A was the active core swings.
When I went through all the records, this was the one that we had voted on in January of 2020.
Right. So now the board asked that the active core swings be broken out and done faster, and because they wanted the swings actually done in the active core. So that was a separate project that went out. So again, you can kind of see the areas, how we broke them up. We start getting into more detail. So this was kind of the play area, open play area. You can see the soccer field. This is where we had planned for soccer field. Here's an area that we planned for transplanting trees because we didn't want to tear down any of the trees or cut down any of the trees. So there was a whole transplant area. So we had to figure out how to grade this area so kids wouldn't hurt themselves. We talked about a path that would connect from behind here, because when you actually went on the path in Heritage Park, it never connected unless you had to go through the parking lot. So there's a path that actually went behind here so people would stay off the parking lot. This is kind of what the drawing looked like. You can kind of see the soccer field and so forth, how we're planning there. That was the estimate. This was the sled hill. We talked about fireworks. The grand plan was always having one center access from Village Hall through the Veterans Memorial, through the Village Green, through the amphitheater, straight to the sled hill. And then you put the actual fireworks on top of the sled hill.
Can you go back to the estimate, please?
This is all from that presentation, if you look it up. January 22nd, 2020. So, and I get back to this spot. So we talked about, you can see the concentric rings here. We showed the village that you can actually have that. You can still have the fall zones for the fireworks. You wouldn't be impeding on any of the residents on the side. There was a stair going up, so forth. We had signs for the kids sledding down that would be black, green, blue, so forth. 4A. So this was Village Hall, that entire 151st Street, and you see that bubble there at the entrance on that east entrance to Heritage Park, because we actually said if you actually master plan this, that you would actually have a master sign, a great big sign as an entrance to Heritage Park. We didn't do it on this side because that was also the Village Hall on this one. So that would be the entrance. Again, renderings showing what that entrance, that gateway would look like. And then we talked about the back of the Village Hall. So we talked about what we can do with landscaping in front, what we can do in the back, how we can do the Veterans Memorial. But this area here, when we designed Village Hall, was always meant to be a community room. That's why the doors are locked on there so nobody can actually get to the dais. So this was supposed to be a community room, and that was originally for the Christmas tree lighting, right, we discussed. But then Christmas tree moved to the active core. So then the Veterans Memorial was the next best thing to actually have here, because then you can have community events in here, you can have the bathrooms and so forth, and you can have a warming shelter on any of those items. So this was the ideal spot, plus the area is serene back here. So again, designed for everything around Village Hall. You'll see that gets pared down a little bit. And these are the renderings of the Veterans Memorial that was proposed. There were 2 Veterans Memorials that were proposed in one of the earlier meetings. This is the one that the board chose in the workshop. So you can see here a large American flag that was taller than the actual building here, so people driving on 151st would actually see over the building and be able to see the flag, so they know that the Veterans Memorial was back there. But then you can see the other flags there and the different plaques.
Jim, can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
So we currently own these designs now?
Yes.
So we can build this anywhere we want?
Yes.
Within Homer Glen?
Yes. I'll show you a presentation of more finite drawings, but the village actually has the drawings. We sent them to Carrie Freiling. I don't know what year I have the drawings, but.
And this all stays pretty cohesive. It's all off the same design, the original design, along with the beautiful entrance you just showed us?
Yes, so this was still in the schematic design, so that entrance was, the board voted that down, they didn't want the main entrance. So I'll show you the actual drawings of what was finally approved to actually go into construction documents and go out to bid.
All right, I'm sorry for interrupting you. I'm just in awe that we already own this.
I have a quick question about that. How is it that we own them when we were told by your offices that we don't own them unless we use you?
You have a license to build on those drawings. You have those drawings, you are granted a license to do that.
We have it all? We can do it without you?
You can do it without me.
And we're not going to have to pay you?
Here's the weird question about that goes into it. Your staff is probably going to want an architect or an engineer to do shop drawings and do construction observation and do that. Another architectural engineering firm will not want to take that liability on our drawings. So you can, people have been asked that before, you can do that, and you can hire another architect to watch our drawings and do them, because you have them. You physically have them here at Village Hall. You can build them, you can do all that stuff. In terms of licensing and so forth, you don't own them in terms of, now I can build the amphitheater wherever I want, in terms of I can sell it to Orland. I can sell them. They're not you don't have a license to sell them. You have a license agreement to build them here in Homer Glen.
So we bought and paid for these already?
Yes, sir. I got pricing in that here later.
All right.
Okay.
Melissa and Joe, well, I don't know Joe. Melissa, as far as your input to that, we've been told from the beginning that those designs belong to TRIA, and that if we do anything with your drawings, we have to pay you. And now you're telling us, the board right now, something completely different that has been preached in the past. That's why, so you're saying if Rose would have taken the design for the Veterans Memorial and take that same design and put it in the back, she wouldn't have had to pay, right? You.
Put it in the back, you'd probably have to hire again, you'd be caught in that. You'd have to hire an
No,
architect or
my question
engineer
is,
to
would you
actually
have
put
to
it
be
in the
paid,
back.
my question is, would you have to be paid at all?
You have those drawings.
Okay.
You have the license to use them.
Now, if she would have put it right where it's at, would you have been paid for any part of that?
Nope.
You were not required to be the builder to do that either?
Trustee Fialco, I am not a builder.
No, but you
I
hired
am
the
an
builder,
architect.
right, you hired, right, but if we...
I don't hire builders. I do not pick up a hammer, I do not hire contractors underneath us. That's the other...
Melissa, is that factual? Because we've been told from the beginning of time that they own those designs. And those designs, if we do anything with them, that we have to pay TRIA, however it's divvied up or how it's understood, the TRIA does get paid.
May I ask for clarification? Who told you that?
Melissa today.
No, but who said that? Who told you that
We've been told.
His offices and previous
His
manager.
office, Tria's
His
office.
office.
Okay, I didn't
And
know who.
previous village manager.
Okay,
Previous village manager, Matt Walsh.
I just wanted I wasn't sure.
So,
just asking.
Melissa, how do you
Our office
understand
is
the
not-
agreement to be?
Yeah.
I don't know about pay, because I've never been asked that question, but I have been asked a question about the ownership of the actual physical documents, which I believe was in the contract somewhere, which is what I think Matt Walsh had read through that contract. That's what I think some of staff's understanding was, that the actual documents themselves were not owned by the village. I think there's something in the contract language that says that.
So in our world, there's a design, right? Like the amphitheater is round, it's the shape, it's everything that's there. For you to take that and copy it and take it and sell it to other communities, that's a design infringement, that's a copyright. The drawings that we made for you, for that amphitheater over there, you can use them, you have those drawings, you have a license fee to do that. You've paid us, you've done all that stuff, we are ready to go out to bid. You can build that. You can build it with a contractor tomorrow.
Well, that's
Jim-
news to us. I'm sorry, I just have a quick question. Do you have a copy of the contract?
I just had it, yeah.
Okay. And
It's
can
in
you
the-
show us
it's
where
in
it
the
says it?
PowerPoint.
Okay, can you show us where it says that in the contract?
Yeah.
I would greatly appreciate that, thank you.
So I'm trying to make sure I'm wrapping my head around this properly. Jim, you're a principal of TRIA.
Yes, sir.
And you have two other partners, and you're standing here before us right now telling us that we own these, that we bought and paid for this, and we can develop this anywhere in Homer Glen. And it was originally set up to be right behind this building where we're sitting at right now.
But I think the confusion is
And-
what I'm sorry.
Go ahead. And is there electrical or water or anything already pre-planned for here, or is it already in?
It's all design.
So I think
Your
the
entire
confusion,
set.
I think what Trustee Fialco was trying to ask earlier about moving here and there is all the work was done for this specific location. So if the board or Trustee Reinders or whoever wanted to move it to another park or move it farther in the park, there would need to be
Infrastructure needs.
other work that would need to be looked at to make sure that the tile and everything is suitable for that area. So that answers that question there.
Not really. You said if we use it in or sell it to Orland Park.
You can't sell it.
If we
cannot
built
sell it.
that exact Veterans Memorial in Sundra Park, would there be a fee from you for that?
If that's the first time you built it, and you said, I want to take that Veterans Memorial and I'm giving it to a contractor and just cut out that page, don't look at the village hall, and I want to build it on that park, and you make it work, that's yours.
But what I'm saying is, they already looked at that area to say this area would fit here and this is what you need to do. If you took it to Cedra Park, it's obviously a different landscape of land. They'd have to investigate that land more.
I think the parallel is to like Lakota Group right now, kind of doing a downtown study. You're not obligated to do anything, but they give you the idea and the plan. But we had not been told that from the beginning, that we would have been told from the very beginning that you're involved with every step of the way. You got yourself tied to everything. So if that's not factual, yeah, I'd like that to be brought to the board. We should have those facts. We're going by what we were told.
That's why I love this opportunity. This is a great opportunity to bring everyone up to speed.
I want to see it in writing.
Yes, I'd like for that to be shared with this whole board, this whole packet and your original contract. Oh, well, we should have that on staff should be. Carmen, you should.
Staff has looked at that. We have that. I don't want to go longer
No, that's
on the
okay.
presentation.
So it was a simple misunderstanding of the reading of the contract. Okay, sorry, Jim, go ahead.
Okay. So, Veterans Memorial, this was outside of that, 4B, right? Village Green and the amphitheater. As you can kind of see here, small area, you can see where the splash pad is, that was planned. Village Green was meant for farmer's market, it was meant for your Homer Fest, the tent actually being put on there. We planned a lot of things, and actually the amphitheater being the stage, as you were talking about, so kind of replacing that amphitheater, the tent, but also being used for Friday nights and the movie nights and so forth, all the community events that you actually had. So that design, again, multiple design meetings, committee of the whole workshops and so forth. This was the final design that the board chose, that we went forward to, and that this is what it looked like.
Okay. Hey, Jim, one more thing. Cul-de-sac road, right? That was kind of the last thing that you were involved with, right?
Yep.
And even, who was going to be the builder for the cul-de-sac road originally?
Austin Tyler.
Austin Tyler. Did you hire him or did we?
You.
We hired him, and who
Yes,
was
sir.
oversight for them?
You had staff that oversight, and then you were paying us for oversight.
Exactly. Was that per
Correct.
contract you were oversight?
Yes.
Or not? Okay, see, so you said yes, right? Your
you-
oversight is tied to the contract.
Yes.
So you are involved in every step of the contract. Even if we hire HR Green to do it, you're the oversight for them or no? Could you explain that?
I don't understand the question. So you actually hired us to do oversight. If you didn't hire us to do oversight, then I'm not
If
doing
we
your
hired
oversight.
HR Green to do the cul-de-sac road, are we obligated to use you as oversight for HR Green?
I'd have to talk to HR Green, but I don't
No, but that would
I don't
be-
have the architectural portion of it. You just did the road part of it? They were
No, the whole project. Let's not split the hair. The whole project, we hired HR Green.
Yeah.
Are you obligated by contract to be the oversight to HR Green?
No.
Or not one part of it?
If you don't hire me for that phase, the village can actually bid this out themselves. You don't have to hire me for the bidding and negotiation
No, we
phase.
did though. We did, and it was HR
Correct.
Green. But as far as the oversight,
No.
I was told that
HR Green was under us.
Okay.
You hired Tree Architecture to do the bidding phase.
Okay.
HR Green was one of our consultants. If you see on here, HR Green, JSD, Tree, you can see on some of those are consultants that are under us. No contractors. Austin Tyler is somebody that we helped you put your project out to bid. We received bids with you here, and you awarded the bid to Austin Tyler.
And we're not obligated to use HR Green. You said we hired him, so, and we work with them a lot, so.
You hired us. I hired HR Green. They're underneath us.
There comes the confusion, right?
Sure.
Okay, we own the design for that cul-de-sac road. You hired HR Green, I thought you said, and I don't know, because I wasn't here when that happened.
I hired HR Green.
You hired HR Green by the direction of this board?
The village hired TRIA, which had consultants under their JSD and HR Green.
Okay.
You did not have a direct contract with HR Green. HR Green has a separate contract with you to do all the road stuff.
But could we have?
You're going into
Per your
theories there.
contract. Per your contract with the village and your design that you have, could we have gone with a different builder?
Build?
Yes, to complete.
A different
the cul-de-sac road.
contractor.
A different contractor.
HR Green is not a contractor.
Well, they were taking care of the cul-de-sac road. However you define
I'm so
it.
confused. HR Green is the engineer. They designed the road.
Okay.
I'm the architect.
Austin Tyler.
Austin Tyler is who you bid it out to as a separate contractor. Our documents went out on the street. We received several bids. Austin Tyler was the lowest responsible bidder. The board gave a contract to Austin Tyler to do the work. That's the contract that you were
Okay.
The board was stopping, saying, we don't want to do the cul-de-sac anymore. But Austin Tyler said, I have lights I paid for, cable, performance and payment bonds.
As oversight, you were what percentage to that?
That side was, I was doing oversight. The board hired us to do oversight.
Okay, and what percentage were you at to the oversight?
Oversight is 20% of my fee. Construction, that contract that I showed you before, my fee, 20% of that is
Okay.
for oversight. The other
Right.
portion is for design and bidding and so forth.
But it's not 20% of the entire contract, is what
Right.
we're
Correct.
saying. So
Jim, can I ask
that's
you-
where some confusion was as well.
Jim, can I ask you another question?
absolutely.
So out of all these phases, we own all of them or several of them, or how many do we actually own and how many have we paid for already that we should be doing something with, like the Veterans Memorial?
I will get to that. That's my next.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Thank you, Jim.
I will show you that.
Jim, can you also clarify what stage the plans are at?
Yep.
I think some of them were not all fully constructed.
Correct.
I think that does have implication in regards to what he was talking about earlier, and other firms do things.
These were all a bunch of questions I got, and this is exactly why I asked him to answer these.
So you essentially split up the park into the 9 phases, had us develop those 9 phases to a point and said, we don't want to do a certain portion, right? Like the fishing pier. We didn't want to do something, the splash pad, we didn't want to do. But the other ones you did. That's that option D. So that's open play area, a portion of open play area. You wanted Veterans Memorial, you wanted Village Green, amphitheater, and cul-de-sac. And I'll show you that next. That's the next level that those items were brought to construction documents level. They are ready to go out to bid. Portion of those was the swings, and we discussed that. The swings at the active core were already done separate.
Could you tell me in whole so far, because you've been around for, this started way before us, so just so the audience understands, we came into the middle of this and it was quite a mess when we came in, and now you're trying to repair that somewhat, I understand that, but so far the village is paid. Huh?
What part was a mess?
The whole understanding of how you're involved. And the cost. And that's my next question. Up to this point, how much has the Village of Homer Glen paid you so far for work that's been done at Heritage Park? What is the total?
I got that slide.
And Trustee Fiocco, in Jim's defense, it wasn't that it was a mess in understanding, it was that he wasn't given the opportunity to explain. Part of the reason why he's here today, to give this board the understanding of where it started and where we're at now. Just a clarification.
I do remember him being here speaking before, maybe not in this context, but you've been here before, so.
I've been plenty of meetings with the board and committee of the wholes and everything, not with the new board. Not since 2022.
You were.
Jim, did anybody know that we owned this? Any board member prior, or did they know that was it in your understanding that anybody understood that we actually own these drawings and had paid for them?
Well, clearly not.
Clearly.
Well,
The
that's why
drawings were
I'm trying to look up
delivered.
emails right now in
Yeah,
regards
no,
to exactly
understand, but-
when we contacted his offices, and they told us no, that we did not.
Yeah, I'd like to actually see that. You can't, again, I think there's a confusion on, do we own these drawings, so can you sell them to Orland Park? No, there's a copyright on them. Do you own the drawings? You have a license to use the drawings to build that project that you hired us to design on your site. 100%. You have the drawings. I have an email to Carrie Freiling where we actually dropped off drawings here. Village Hall, somewhere in this Village Hall, there's a set of drawings and specifications that can go out to bid tomorrow if you want. They're
Okay,
there.
can you please continue then, just so we
Yeah,
can do
just
this?
to finish up my question, the total that you've been paid by the Village of Homer Glen.
I got it on the site.
I'd like to know that before we continue.
Just
going through my
continue, please
presentation.
continue, go ahead. He
Okay.
said he's coming up to it.
Okay, so active core, we talked about splash pad, right? Designed for the splash pad. That splash pad was actually designed down here, closer to the future parking lot. That was on this side. And that was a result because of, if everybody even knows, again, understanding-wise, there's a sewer line that runs through Heritage Park. That because of the slope, sewer lines have to be sloped. It stops at a certain point in the middle of Heritage Park. It doesn't, that's why it didn't extend to active core. That's why the bathrooms at active core don't have running water and they are the tanks, they're portalets, because of that limitation. We could have done it, there could have been a lift station at active core, but the cost was prohibitive for the board. So that's why those are tank toilets as we're moving forward. So fishing pier. Different options about doing a fishing pier and doing ADA fishing pier on that side, plus parking lots, and moving out. So this was the areas, again, that were out of scope. At this point in this years of this discussion were areas that were out of scope at that time. First one being the cul-de-sac road. The parking lot closer to Public Works, or right next to Village Hall, right here. And then the bigger parking lot next to Public Works buildings back there, those by the fishing pier. Those were out of the scope, as well as doing another swing and everything, the active core, we were doing that separately. So, moving on to the next level. So this is probably gonna answer a lot of your things. So last CD presentations, construction document presentations, okay? Again, some of the rumor mill, right? Tree as designed, didn't compare, didn't have flags. Tree architecture was going to charge the village between $800 and $1 million to complete it. 800,000, right? I don't make that. Those are contractors. I am just a designer. Tria's design only had one plaque, a raised bench with a pergola over it, with one flagpole, and it just doesn't compare, right? So some of the comments that were actually out here. This was the last conversation, and you can actually see here on the bottom, these are all the consultants that were under Tree Architecture that worked on the project. JSD did landscape design, HR Green did civil, WT did MEP, More Lights did the stage lights, and Threshold did the acoustical, the sound for the amphitheater. All that is designed. It's ready to go. So the areas, as a refresher, these are the areas we talked about. Sled Hill cul-de-sac. We talked about what we're doing at the top of the Sled Hill in terms of signage, one light, so kids can actually sled farther or later on at night in winter hours, and you can use it actually in summer. It was a push button, so anybody can use it while they're up there. Cul-de-sac, double-sided cul-de-sac that was actually there with an island in the middle. Again, the big push for this, I know, again, political, there was a lot of things said about the cul-de-sac and the road to nowhere and so forth, but the idea for this was, it was never on the original plan, but once we started, the village started having the movie nights and so forth and all the activities, they were running out of parking. They were running out of turning around space. So the cul-de-sac got pushed up in that ranking, and that's why that one actually got pushed forward to actually be done. So there's an area there that actually brought people back to the Sled Hill and was a turnaround area for events like Homerfest. Open play, active area, again, you can see that we were putting the soccer field and the path down below. Activity area. So this is the grading of the soccer field. This is the path. These are all screenshots from your construction documents that we put in that presentation. These are all in your construction document drawings. This is ready to be bid to a contractor. Village Hall, Veterans Memorial, right? Here's a different shot of the Veterans Memorial. Again, one of the areas somebody was asked, like, what this open area grass, we originally had flowers in here and so forth, but this was designed so we can actually put a ton of chairs for events. You can actually have them out there for different events, especially on Memorial Day or any Veterans Day. Again, you can see the flags, you can see the plaques, you can see all that stuff that are there, and that is right on the center of the peak of the building behind the mayor's office and Carmen's office. Again, another view of what was designed for the Veterans Memorial. So the other question was, well, you can actually see here, if you see this drawing, this was all the seats that were allowed around there for any of the events on the area, if you see my mouse. But the other question was in terms of dollars, right? The original estimate for the Veterans Memorial was $800,000 and the new memorial was less than that, and it was comparable or not. I just want to inform the board. The Veterans Memorial, that $790,000 or $85,000 included the Veterans Memorial, but it was also all the landscaping behind Village Hall and to the west. It included a gazebo on that side to the right, and included eating areas for the staff to come out of their back of their office areas, so it'd be a whole community area. So there's a lot more than just a Veterans Memorial. So again, to your question, if you wanted to pull out the Veterans Memorial, you can, but there's so much tied to that. You absolutely can. You can pull that portion out. Again, more designs. We show you what it looks like. Here's the elevation of everything. Now this design matches what's at active core with the wood, the signage and everything with the 4 pylons. That we brought that, and that originally active core came from the design off of Village Hall. So we're playing off and we're trying to make everything look similar and tie it in so that there's one large heritage park that looks consistent. If you look to the right, that's the kind of the gazebo that was out here that would be essentially right behind here for everyone. That is also included in that $800,000 in that original estimate. Moving on to Village Green, amphitheater. Again, the entire layout, Village Green, amphitheater, what that looked like. Now we've got the speakers on there, we've got lights, it's fully designed with sound, theatrical lighting, so forth. All the different areas. and what the actual storage rooms behind there. Elevations, these are all drawn, these are all drawings that you actually have, again. So, estimate, so you kind of
Bielko, here's your estimate.
This was the last estimate that we had given out, right? So open play, Sled Hill, Village Hall, and Veterans Memorial. There's the $840,766.
Yeah, that's for the Veterans Memorial. Now, I know we're a little more than one slide away. We've gone through more than one slide, and I've been patient. So far, how much has the Village of Homer Glen paid you total? And that would be the project up to now with your design.
Yep.
And what do you estimate that the Village of Homer Glen would owe you to complete the project here at Heritage Park? So let's start with the number where we're at, the solid number that we know already.
I'm showing you this. Is everyone fine with that estimate? Then we're fine with the estimate. I will fly through these. Again, those are all the projects put together.
I have, for example, from January 2nd of 2019. You know, and this is being put on the spot to try and find documents is ridiculous.
Jim, go ahead and
right now.
continue until you get to that total, because I do want to just get to the point of all of what you just went through, all those different phases, all the way up to ready to go out to bid process. How much has the Village of Homer Glen, now I don't know if it's paid to you or paid to this guy or whoever, but how much have we paid in total to have all of that, what we just saw, all the designs ready to go out to bid? What was that total cost that the village has already spent?
So that was the question that was actually asked in terms of on Heritage Park as there. I do not, it was more based, I'm sorry, Mayor, it was based on Veterans Memorial. Anything that was based on Veterans Memorial, I do not have active cores numbers in here. I can put all those, again, they're all public knowledge, the village paid those bills. But Heritage Park Master Plan, you paid tree architecture $15,898. If I tried to break that portion out and just say Veterans Memorial, that was about 14% of the project, so it's $1,766. Heritage Park schematic design, village paid $105,000 to design all this for all the consultants to bring it to the next level. If you broke out, say Veterans Memorial, again, I'm estimating around 11% of that project, so that was $11,760. And then when you decided to go into design development and construction documents with all the engineering for the Village Green, Amphitheater, Veterans Memorial, cul-de-sac, for the design development and construction documents phase, you paid $402,760. And if you kind of broke that out, again, 14% on that, that one I did by dollar amount, so that was $56,386. So my estimate, I know that was one of the questions that came up, how much have we spent already on Veterans Memorial? That was actually built out, it was like about $69,000, $70,000.
No, that is not my question at all, not even close.
Okay.
My question is, how much money on this project has been spent total on Heritage Park with your involvement altogether, not breaking it, because I know it's cost millions of dollars, and I know it's over $10 million that has been spent here already. So if you're the numbers man and you're receiving the numbers or the money, where are we at with that right now?
That we paid TRIA?
So let me start one thing at a time.
You paid TRIA? $10 million? What number, are you construction number? Or design number?
You're kind of splitting the hair, but okay.
Well, that's, I think, probably the root of our question. I am not a builder. I have not built anything on this site.
Could you go back to your first page too, where you get your percentages, scroll all the way back down there? I mean, and there's a reason why you're getting paid.
My quick calculations for TRIA was about 80 grand. My quick calculations for TRIA was about 80 grand in the design. You're saying, you're asking construction and design, or you're asking what did TRIA get paid?
In this park, and the percentages that he had made, and the small portion of it was, that I saw when we first got started, was this 10% fee that was being attached to whatever was going on with everything that you did. And that's where the red flags start popping up. Now you have this piece of paper here that shows about construction cost, right? And what you get paid for, okay, compensation for the architect's basic services described under Article 3, which I don't know what Article 3 says yet. The owner shall compensate the architect as follows. but you're saying that you don't have to be paid. So I'm reading one thing, you're telling me another, so it makes it confusing. And I'm asking for a solid number. What have we spent? And maybe Carmen, you can find out what we've spent in Heritage Park and have that for the board at the next meeting. What are the total millions of dollars that have been spent in Heritage Park, and what portion of that is the fees that were spent to TRIA? And then we'll know.
Here, I think I'm going to help out, because like in some of the documents that I'm reading, so basically the fees that we would have incurred for scope of architectural and engineering services.
That we would have or that we have?
That we have. Scope of services that include design services as outlined in the A1A B101 2007 Master Agreement between owner and architect, civil engineering, landscape design. I like this number. As per the A1A B101 agreement, which translates to a fee of $72,650, which is $6,054, or I'm sorry, $6,054,234 times 8% fee times 15% for schematic design.
Yep.
So it's 8% is his fee, and then he gets 15% of that 8%.
So take that $6 million of whatever that cost was, multiply that, you can see it right here, the construction costs, you multiply that by the 8%, that is my fee to design it. And then take that 8%, take whatever that number is, say it's $100,000, for schematic design is 15% of that. So I get paid $15,000 out of that 100 for that phase. They're not, it's not times 15, it's not multiply. Again, I don't build, I'm sorry, this is probably where all of the confusion is. I'm not a contractor, but our fees are based on construction costs.
In writing, where it specifically states, and everything is signed, that the Village of Homer Glen owns all of these designs, like you're saying, because that is where the discrepancy was almost 2 years ago, year and a half ago, actually. So if you can show it to me in writing, where we own it and we don't have to utilize your services in order to build what we allegedly own.
Sounds like we paid for it already and
Yes, we did.
do own them.
We did. Well,
you did?
I want to see it in writing.
Here, I do believe that we need to have part 2 of this, where Carmen, you get us the breakdown, the contract. This would be like an A&F issue, it would come back, so here we are. But the thing is, we need to have that copy of that contract.
Can you point it out?
Know how much TRIA has made so far.
Just found it for you.
And then we need to know kind of like how much we spent on Heritage Park and what we have yet to pay to complete it.
Is there a reason it's lined out? Is there,
Yes.
that there's a line in there, or is that just a copy? What is it?
So in terms of AIA documents, the edits that either an attorney makes or our attorney makes, the deletions are crossed out, the additions are underlined.
Right.
But this has all been,
When it's crossed out like that,
it's all been approved.
what's your advice?
So where do we start? So
Copyrights and licenses, right?
right. So we're starting at the word
Says
drawings.
drawing specifications and other documents, including those in electronic form, prepared by the architect and the architect's consultants, are instruments of service for use solely with respect to this project.
Understood.
That's
Why is it
in
crossed
transmitting instruments of service or any other information the transmitting party represents. Go on. So the architect and architect's consultants shall be deemed the authors and owners of the respective instrument. Again, that's the copyright portion of it.
Right.
You can't take it, give it to another architect and say, chop off the Veterans Memorial, give it half, do whatever, right? There's a copyright to it. You can't give it to another architect so they build it in Orland. So there's a copyright to that design.
And where does it say that they can't build it anywhere else in Homer Glen for us?
No, we can build it in Homer Glen.
We can.
We can build it anywhere in Homer Glen. We just can't give it to
why
Orland
reinvent
or
the
New
wheel?
Lenox.
Carmen, Village Manager, could you please get a copy of that complete contract throughout the years, because things have been lined out from the beginning to present, and make sure our legislative our council receives that so he can review it. And then on our second part, when we have another workshop amongst ourselves or publicly, however you want to do it, we can break it down.
Please don't move that up.
I'm just finding a spot for you that you probably want to read.
So Paul can have the opportunity to review what we've talked about today. Thank you.
Okay, 'cause-
That's your license.
Okay, so that's the license, because what I was reading above in 7.2, the architect and the architect's consultants shall be deemed the authors and the owners of their respective instruments of service, including the drawings and specifications.
Yeah.
So that doesn't say to me that we own it.
You're missing you read 7.3.
So upon execution of this agreement, the architect grants the owner a non-exclusive license to use the architect's instruments of service solely and exclusively for purposes of constructing, using, maintaining, altering, and adding to the project.
Yeah, you get that license there. I know this is getting into the contract and probably needs to go to the attorney to kind of look at this, but when you hired us, any architect, to do a design, you get a license to actually build it because you're building it. There's terms in there in terms of if you stop paying the license, you don't get the license anymore, so forth, right? There's lots of terms and conditions. But for you to build this right here, again, we sent the drawings to the village. You have them here somewhere, drawings and specifications that are ready to go out to bid. You can go out to bid with them to a contractor, however it is. That caveat being, again, be careful on that, talk to other architects, wherever you may be. If you sit there and say, I want to hire another architect to take Trio's drawings, they're not going to want that liability, but some may. You can have that conversation.
So Jim, basically the design is done, right? You're the architect, you're done, right?
Yep.
So at this point,
Put it out to bid.
you really, I mean, you're back here to tell us, right? But your part is done.
My part is done. That's part of the design, but bringing it up to speed, but this is a part of it. This is part of the end of the conversation is termination. I was sent the termination letter to stop on the cul-de-sac and to terminate the master agreement.
Right, but your part
So
technically,
I'm really done.
as the designer, is done, right?
On that portion, yeah. That design, your next phase is bidding and negotiation.
Now, can I ask a question? I'm sorry, Trustee Felker, were you done?
Absolutely, I'm
Okay.
done.
For bidding and negotiation, out of the fees that we already paid you, was that part of the agreement for you to help get bids and stuff, or?
That is, if you authorize, it's in there in terms of, if you did this, this is what the fee would be.
So there would be an additional fee
Right.
to help, for you to help us get bids and stuff? Okay, but if we were just ready to pull it and go, okay, we're going out to bid, but that's not just for the memorial, that's for the memorial, everything that you just showed us?
The amphitheater.
So we don't have to go through this again at some point?
No, we own it. We bought it, we paid for it, you designed it. We own the amphitheater, we own the Veterans Memorial, we own the sled hill. My understanding
So
you
we're on the
correctly?
same page, you have a license to use those and build them on this site.
So we spun a lot of money into this
Yes.
already.
Yes,
All right, that's what I thought.
yes.
I'm sorry,
So
the attorney?
technically, again, going back, you could just, I mean, if your job is done, you would go home and your part is done, we paid you, right? You're done with everything that you would do here, and we can kind of do and kind
You
of
can. That
build
is-
it as we deem necessary, right? There's no, you're
Absolutely.
saying there's no
But-
handcuffs by you to do anything other than you're done with the design and that's it, right?
That's it.
And the other thing.
I feel like there's a trick question in there somewhere.
No,
Hold on
I
a
feel like,
second.
well, it's
So
kind
to
of,
answer
I'm
your
working
question,
with what I'm hearing.
right? So it's not industry standard or advised, right? And this is the board can do, in this day and age, the board can do whatever you actually want. You want to take that and go build it on that site and hire a contractor and go through it, you can. But most of your projects, it's like HR Green and the road projects, is like pulling one of them out where you're like, we'll take it from here,
Thank you
we'll
for your
handle all
opinions.
that portion and we'll just do that.
Thank you for-
that
So it would
information.
go out to RFP at this point, right? So we.
Not RFP,
Not-
bid, full bid.
Sorry.
Full bid, okay. I just wanted to make sure, because there's an amount that the RFP stops, and then at some point there, it picks up and becomes a bid, correct?
That is the next part of, that was another
All right,
question.
I'm
that
sorry
was
for
brought.
getting ahead of
Yeah.
you. I'm sorry.
Just one more question. Out of all the things that was done in Heritage Park that you were involved with, were any of them no bid contracts?
No.
No? Okay.
The Air Active Core was bid out publicly to Integral was the contractor that received the bid. That was, again, contract between the
How many
board.
bids did you have on that project?
Oh, you got me.
Two,
That's
three,
all public
one?
record.
That's what I'm trying to get
I
at.
don't
Were they
remember.
single bid contracts, or were they more than always three?
Active Core was multiple, the cul-de-sac was multiple, and that was essentially the only things that we really bid.
Okay.
Swings, I don't remember the swings. at all.
But at the same time, you were getting that percentage that you get when you do that though, right?
The fee
When
that you
yes,
hired us to do.
With the bidding process, you're also paid.
We
for that.
hired him to help us with the bidding
Right,
process.
so you're paid for the bidding process while it's happening, correct?
You requested me, yes.
Okay.
So like as of right now, we have the memorial plans. We could pay him or somebody else to help us go out and get bids, or we could just do it in-house ourselves and get bids.
I do think this is way above this board's head as far as contractually.
And I
That's why
actually
we have
agree
a
with you.
lawyer. So I think for Paul to review it and come back and we can have a second meeting so we all understand it.
Can we let him finish? I'd like to hear the end of it, because I was leaning.
Thought he was done.
Okay, hold on. Trustee Silent has something, who's been very quiet.
Yeah.
I just want to say, you were asking for a copy of the contract. The signed contract is on our website.
Well, it's been changed since then?
Oops, and it shows the items crossed out just as he was showing us tonight.
Everything up to date, we need to get to Paul, though. A lot of times on the website, things are dated and not updated. So I don't know which version, because there's been a few revs on this, revisions.
No, sir. The master contract.
Well, whenever you put a line through something, it's a revision.
That master contract was approved by the board. That has never changed since the board approved it.
I just want to make sure we get Paul everything that's up to date and we're not getting anything secondary.
The signature is dated 10/7/15.
Can we press forward?
Okay. So the other question I had to round this up, right, finish this up, was proposed Veterans Memorial at Active Core, to answer some of the questions on pros and cons of this location, the one that is the new one that was being proposed, right, the one that got vetoed. Again, design, I'm not going to go in design. Design is subjective. Everyone has a different taste on that. Location, again, as a professional, I wouldn't put it in an active core, right? That's where kids are running. There's a lot of things. That's not a solemn space. That's not a quiet space. That's one of the reasons why we actually put Veterans Memorial back here. So again, design-wise as a professional, that's where my recommendation is. Again, that location at active core is far away from the community room. We went through all those reasons why it was important to kind of be here by the bathrooms and the community room and a pre-function space. Amenities, no shelter close for inclement weather. Again, like this one has Village Hall. No full-service bathrooms close. Of course, we talked about that. Drawings. Unfortunately, there's some critical information missing, right? Electrical, where the electrical is actually coming from, which panel is being fed from, what lights are actually, there was lights.
From which drawing?
From the RFP that you actually put out. So there's no lights specified in terms of what types of lights. Again, if you leave it up to a contractor, they can choose from a million types of lights.
Wait a minute, which one are you talking about, and why are we talking about this?
It was one of the questions that was asked.
So you have a slide presentation on the newer one, correct? The one that was not your design. I don't agree with this at all.
I don't understand.
Why are you discussing this?
He's giving pros and cons. These were questions.
You're giving us your opinion, your pros and cons, and we're taking time away from our meeting even longer?
Here, so what we'll do is, Jim, from what I understand and hear from the board, is that they would like to have you come back and discuss. I mean, it seems like you're wrapping it up. You're just giving kind of your opinion at this point. And I wasn't aware that Trustee Reinders wasn't going to be here until about 10 minutes before the meeting. So if we'll schedule something for a workshop for you to come back. I'm sure the board has questions. We'll get that contract. We'll kind of regroup and then invite you back again to another meeting
I would also
to go
like
through it.
Westcott to be here as well.
Trustee Consolino? Okay, the attitude, I guess we can kind of leave out a little bit, but I mean, we're trying to work together here on this project, so again, Mr. Petrakos, thank you for coming. I apologize that it took a lot longer than the 15 minutes expected. I believe I said 5 before, but hey, there was a lot of questions and a lot of interruptions, but thank you for coming here. And Manager Morella, we'll get back to you and let you know when a good date and time. We'll make sure Brett Westcott is here and Trustee Reinders and even Trustee McNaughton as well. So thank you for
Thank you very much for enlightening us and bringing a whole bunch of this that I've been asking myself about to light. I appreciate that, Jim. Thank you.
No problem.
And all the trustees have your email, so if they have any questions they'd like to ask you prior to the meeting, please feel free to do so, correct? Okay. Okay.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll apologize to the audience for that long, lengthy, but at least now you guys know where we're at. Okay, so we're going to move on to, I don't even know, consent agenda? Consider for approval the accounts payable for period of May 26, 23 through June 15, 23 in the amount of $324,790.25.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? I'm sorry. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders? Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton? Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Motion carries. Legislation and action items. Mayor's appointments to the committees, the village committees. I gotta get there, excuse me, sorry.
Wasn't there a new updated one that was sent out to just recently compared to the one that was in the original packet?
Yes, so there was a misspelling on Mr. Kenny's name.
Can I ask when we do that, just so there's no confusion, because it comes through email, it's sometimes in our mailboxes here at Village Hall, did we put a Rev 1, R1, R2, where are we at here? So we know which is the most, or a new, or date it, or say this is the revised as of this date, because it's very confusing, and I've heard other trustees say this before, we get these things at the last minute, they're in our mailbox, but we don't know what's the latest version.
I can agree. I
And
agree
usually
with
with any construction company, you got Rev 1, Rev 2, Rev 3, and you know where you're at and a date on it. So I think that would be most helpful for everybody on this board.
Noted.
Okay, so a little background on this.
Can you tell me which one we're working off of?
I'm actually going off the one in the packet.
I have three in front of me.
I'm actually just going off the one in the packet because the only correction that I am aware of was the spelling of Mr. Kenny's last name. There was an E missing before the Y. So that was the only change to make it an official.
The one that we should have is K-E-N-N-Y. Both of them say K-E-N-N-Y on mine.
Yeah, EY. It should say EY.
I don't have either one of those.
That mistake was just brought to my attention today, so I did not modify the document. We know she's going to read it. It will get corrected for future documents.
Okay.
The document you should be reading from should have all of the committees, including, at one point it was listed, I think Public Service and Safety was listed weirdly. I don't know. The final one that's in your packet should be the one that you should be reading from. We pulled the other one and put in the correct one.
Should say what on it? I'm sorry?
Should have all the committees, including Public Service and Safety.
As the last item?
I believe it was listed.
Correct.
Okay. So just to clarify with the residents that had some questions about the mayor being able to appoint committees, I went to the respective chairs and said whoever they would like on the committee, and if they wanted a vice chair or not. I respected their opinions. I did not say that they had to put anybody on them, and in fact, I didn't make any recommendations. So for the Mayor's Ability Awareness Committee, the appointments are for vice chair Karen Adamczyk, committee members Angela McKenna, Robert O'Connor, James Crones, Karen Sandler, and Nicole Laha. The Mayor's Behavioral Health, do I have to say the Mayor's? Why can't it be? Okay. For Behavior and Health, the chairman is Kurt Mason. Appointments vice chair is Nicholas Volek. Committee members are Ron Kuss, Joe Baber, Mark Raber, and Kelly Calderon. The Community Development Committee, which the chairman is Sue Stylen. The vice chair is Dan Kenny. Committee members are Sandra Harney, Cherie Kozel-Laha, and Tammy O'Brien. The Economic Development Committee, which is Trustee McNaughton. Vice Chair is Craig Carlson. Committee members are Chris Pluzek, Isa Isla, I'm sorry if I'm messing these names up, Jeffrey Molinek, Dwayne Blank, and Nicholas Volek. The Environment Committee, which is Trustee Consolino. There is no vice chair at this time. The committee members are Joe Torres, Andy Pinelli, Chris Chapetta, Karina Cirillo, and Fran Hervillier. Parks and Rec Committee, Chairman Rose Reinders. There is no vice chair at this time. Committee members will be Dale Jansen, Bob Kamen, Russell Knack, Matt Hostany, Amy Blank, Marcy Gorek, Nicole Laha, and Dan Kenny. Community Festival Committee, Chairman Dan Fialko, Vice Chair Debbie Stevens, and committee members, we are still in the selection pending, or the selection is pending due to the fest being right around the corner. We wanted to wait till after the fest
We
to
always
appoint.
do that the first meeting in July.
Yes, thank you, Trustee Fialko. And for the Public Safety Services and Safety Committee, Trustee Mason is the chair, Dave Bricker is the vice chair. The committee members are Brett Westcott, Ron Kuss, Brent Woods, Jeff Taylor, and Ton Fonfera. What about the, oh, here's Planning Commission. Okay, so that is it. That's the appointments. There's no vote on that, but if anybody else, or if we're done with the application process, but we'd still like for people to volunteer. My committee's still looking for people as well, and I'm sure if somebody's really set on being on a committee, there's always room for more volunteers and non-voting members.
Can we have a motion on that, just to appoint them, just a first and second?
I didn't know if there was one or not, so.
Do better.
I prefer one, actually, we discussed this, we discussed this, okay. All right, so, okay. A motion to approve the mayor's committee appointments and vice chairs.
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll, or no roll?
Yeah, roll.
Roll call? Okay. please call the
Trustee
roll.
Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye?
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is consider for approval the mayor's appointment of Steve Fiskow to serve as a member of the Village Planning Commission. Is there a motion?
I move to make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I believe just the discussion part of it until May 31st, 2026.
Yes, I was going to
That's
add.
per our village code, I believe, so everybody's clear on it. Usually, members are appointed to all the other committees on an annual basis with the chair and the vice chair. This is the only place where it's a little bit different. And I'm glad we did not get rid of Planning Commission, so thank you for that. So that's the explanation for the May 31st, 2000.
Yeah, I don't think we would ever get rid of Planning Commission, but
Yeah, they're kind of like admin and finance.
no, not really. But okay, so Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustees.
Or actually, is Mr. Fiskow here? Do you have anything you would like to say, or?
No, I mean, just being a resident since like 1982 and then here again, I feel like I have a lot of input for the village. Excited to be part of the commission.
Well, thank you. Thank you for volunteering your time.
Has each of the board from the Planning Commission spoke with them, had the chance to sit down?
Actually, the Planning Commission, I left that up to the Planning Commission as well, and they did a voting process, and they selected Mr. Fiskow.
Okay.
They have not spoken with you directly, I do not think, but they've reviewed resumes.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, now, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
With pleasure, aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Congratulations, Steve. And thank you for donating your time to this village, because I'll say it once again, there's people out there that they can't get people to work for a paycheck, and for you to donate your time to this village and to spend all that time donating that time to your community is, we're very grateful for it. Thank you.
Okay, legislation and action item 3, variances for 14316 West Hickory Avenue. Consider for approval ordinance number 23-029, a request for a variance to permit an accessory structure in the front yard where accessory structures are not permitted, obstruction for certain real property located in the R1 Single Family Residence District at 14316 West Hickory Avenue, Lamont, Illinois, within Homer Glen corporate limits, HG 2311-B. I'm going to move on to B if nobody has any concerns
Well,
so far.
I think that, shouldn't we, there's two separate motions here. One
There
for
is,
A,
but I just didn't know
One
if-
is for B. I think we should vote on A in case somebody wants to amend
Right.
something. Okay. And then we can then go to B as part 2.
Okay,
I
sure.
would prefer that. I would prefer that too.
Okay. All right, so A, I need this motion. I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion for The,
For A.
A.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion. Trustee Mason?
No, not at this time. I just feel that, I don't see why not. I mean, it's right off his driveway, it's his house, his property.
Trustee Stylen?
My only comment is the requirements with the siding and gables and all. I just would like to say I'd like to see it just match the house.
Trustee Fialko?
I have nothing.
Trustee Consolino?
On A, that is.
On A. On A.
A was 7-0, correct, on the planning commission?
And the planning commission did vote 7-0 on A. So we always look to our planning commission for guidance, and I think they did a good job on this.
Is the petitioner here? Would you mind stepping up to the podium in case we have any questions for you? Well, I know there was a comment
We
made
won't fight, it's okay.
by Trustee Stylen.
Well, I think what she's talking about is actually B.
Yeah, okay.
Can I add something really quick?
Please.
The existing home on the property is masonry, 100% on the first floor. I'm just making that clear, that even our code would not require full masonry to match, so just making sure that everybody understands what that house is.
What I mean by matching is like color-wise or something that it just like, there's brick on the house and then there's like brown siding, just that it's nothing different because they put in gables and everything, but just that it doesn't look really different. It just looks like it belongs right next to the house.
So the question is, I'm sorry. The question is, I don't understand. I'm sorry.
She's asking if you have a question, Sue, or just making a simple statement but I believe, as Trustee Fialko pointed out, I believe that's B.
Oh.
To be.
Okay. So since there's no more discussion, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Fialko?
So for L3, item A, the motion to consider, I say aye.
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider for approval ordinance number 23-030, a request for approval of a variance from the exterior construction standards of 75-67A of the Village of Homer Glen to permit vinyl siding on the first floor of the accessory structure over 225 square feet in lieu of the required 3 feet and 36 inches of masonry around the lower portion and fiber cement siding for the remaining portions for certain real property located in the R1 Single Family Residence District at 14316 West Hickory Avenue, Lamont, Illinois, within Homer Glen corporate limits, HG 2311-B.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion, Trustee Fialko?
The discussion that I'd like to have is if we look at pages 7, 9, and 12, now this is specific to the siding that's on this building. The motion for A, in the location of where that structure needs to be in the house on an angle, I agree with 100%. When we get to this and we look at the proposed garage, it's a pretty big garage. It's in the front. We've already approved that you can do that. But if we look at page 9 of 22, and we also kind of look at its position as to where it's facing, the side of that garage, you want to put vinyl siding on that. And being that garage is facing basically towards the road, and there's some subdivisions that are all vinyl and vinyl, I just don't think that vinyl, because of the size of the garage and because of how it's facing. If this was behind your house, it might be acceptable maybe. But being that this is that close to the road and it's that huge of a structure, it's a pretty big structure. It ends up having 3 garage doors on it. One is really taller than the other 2. This is your I mean, the thing is, I don't think that should be vinyl siding. Now, I don't know what the second option for you, what you could do or what you want to do, but I was wondering if, Melissa, you could explain, and I know I don't want to know about any neighbors, I only want to know about this property and what the options they would have.
So code requires, because their house is masonry, code requires for any accessory structures over 225 square feet to be masonry, 36 inches up from the bottom on all 4 elevations. The balance of materials on that structure have to meet the fiber cement siding specification standard. So that's like hardy board, but it doesn't have to be hardy board. That's just a brand, right? So there's other materials out there that also meet that same specification. That's fiber cement siding. We've also, Joe Baber has also approved materials like LP siding or
It's a brand.
there's engineered like
Fiber
sidings.
cement. There's a specific ASTM standard for fiber cement siding that must be met.
But it's got
There's
an
quite a few.
architectural kind of appearance, it's appealing. And
they're
it's more
beautiful.
sturdy, right?
Correct.
Okay.
The one material that we typically don't allow is aluminum siding. That's a prohibited material.
By code.
Although the code does say for accessory structures over 225, if they wanted to apply for a variance, even administratively through Carmen, they can ask to put on their prohibited materials, and it specifically says that. So they could come and request from the village manager to use aluminum siding if they wanted to. So that could be an option if it was granted, depending on the situation. This one obviously is in the front yard, so it's a little different.
Excuse me. That's cough drop. Not supposed to do that. Like what Sue was saying, to match for it to match, not only color-wise, but in material, what is the material that's on the house right now?
So it's brick, it's kind of like a brown mixed.
No, but is it the fiber, is it the cement siding or the cement board?
It's like stucco or ephes. Is there any siding or is it like a stucco, kind of a?
In the house?
Yeah.
No, in the
Glazed
house.
bricks. This area right here in the front, what is that?
Oh, that's a gazebo. Pero that one hay otro.
Oh, not here,
Yeah.
sorry. This material, oh, that's your garage door, right?
It's the garage door, yeah.
The floor is all brick.
Yeah, but yeah, it's the
It's
garage.
not like, I thought, it's the angled house, I went and looked at it today.
And there was, can I look at your photo?
From the house next door to it, vinyl siding.
Right.
No, that's right, I saw that one.
This is all
But
brick.
there's like a
all
dark
around.
brown, it's kind of like my house, for anyone who knows it. It's brick mostly, and then there's a little bit of siding.
On the upper
second
second
floor.
Yes,
floor.
On the
second floor.
gazebo.
So what I'm just saying is that I think that should match.
Well, I mean, they can pick out a vinyl siding that's this color, it would look exactly the same. So I think that's, again.
I think I agree with Trustee Stalin that it needs to be comparable to what you have on the house. And I think going with a fiber siding and a cement siding or something, hardy board that's a little more consistent with what you have on the house would be a better option, especially because of the size, the square footage of the side of your garage, and how that appearance to to the neighborhood and everything would look. This did not have to go to the planning commission either. So it's up to this board at this point for something like that. Would you be okay with going with fiberboard instead of cement
fine.
or I mean hardy board?
Yeah, hardy board, yeah, for me.
You'd be okay with that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, we gave you, we said, yeah, you can put the structure up, but help us out by making it kind of look like the rest of the house and where it's not that flimsy, vinyl siding.
Yeah, no, it's fine. For me, it's okay.
So will there be any brick at all on this structure?
3 feet.
The 3 feet to 36 inches, is that correct?
I think they're asking to not put that on currently. So again, if you're not all right with that, then it would need to be a requirement or.
I see your neighbors don't have,
They have a minor, a neighbor.
I see.
Minor side, yeah.
That would just be
And a small.
Right.
But for me, it's okay. I don't care that much.
But as Trustee Fiocco said, you'd be willing to work with something a little sturdier, a little more appealing,
board, right.
a hardy board, a cement board, a fiber board, something a little more fire retardant, that kind of construction materials?
Yeah, for me, it's okay. Yeah, no problem.
Can I clarify? So if the entire structure can be constructed out of the hardy board and no masonry would be required and the board is okay with that, I think that you would need to amend this so that there's a variance to not require masonry. right? Because the
Correct.
fiber cement
The
meets code.
36-inch
Correct.
brick.
If you wanted the masonry, then you actually would just deny this because they would have to meet code with the masonry and the fiber cement siding. Does that make sense?
Could they come back though with a redesign, kind of like to fit what?
Well, they wouldn't need to if they're within the code, right?
I guess I'm not hearing anybody up here strongly encouraging them to have masonry on there, right?
I'm not going to.
And the lower 36 inches.
You know,
That's what they're looking for. They're looking for relief for the brick on
So it would be a
the lower
relief of the
36
brick.
inches.
and the neighbor next door has vinyl, and they're not going against any
There's a
code.
mix of materials in that neighborhood over there.
And, I mean, I'm not gonna, here, there was no public testimony. Nobody was upset by this with any of the neighbors.
But the point Trustee Stalin said is so it matches and so it's consistent with the house and the rest of it, I think that makes a lot of sense. And you agreed that you could do that too, right?
Yeah.
With the hardy board, so. Now the question, it sounds like to me, is what about the bottom with the brick veneer, right? I don't know, you're look in the design, you don't want to have to put that there. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, but your house is all brick, right? So wouldn't it look really nice if it had that on it with the hardy board? I mean, it might be a little more expensive, but wouldn't that add value to the house too? And being that this is the struggle we have. It's not behind your house, right? So it's not off the road into the back. It's in the front.
Yeah.
You know, it's your house, and the more beautiful it looks, the better in the long run the resale value will be too, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, that's fine.
There are new materials that are brick veneer that don't require like brick ledge like your typical home does that we're used to seeing. That would be acceptable. Just a thin sheet brick type material that's been kiln dried. Those are acceptable materials per our code.
And then know what they could put up per our code then to help them.
We could work with the applicant on that.
Are you
Sure.
willing to do that, sir?
Like a brick veneer, like a thinner layer, just for the aesthetics, for the
It's not
beautification.
your true brick and mortar like you would do every course. It's a sheet product that actually allowed by our code.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's fine.
perfect.
Okay, so I guess to go back, this would just be a no on this then?
You would just be denying, yeah.
Just deny this? and
Because that would meet
move forward
code.
With Joe helping you to figure out what you can use. It would also save you some money by not having a solid brick configuration.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Did everyone, Trustee Consolino, did you have anything to add? You guys are good over here? Okay.
I know this is not related to this one, and I didn't realize this until after the motion had already passed for the previous ordinance. Those conditions that are listed 1 through 4 are in the ordinance. So by approving that ordinance, you approved those conditions. Just want to clarify that the Plan Commission had made to extend the overhangs, to add an additional window, to use a larger lap siding size. So I just want to be clear that that's what was approved tonight.
Yes.
And then, okay, just wanted to be clear.
And so now we have B, right, we had a first and a second on to approve, right?
What was your concern on that one, number 4?
I just brought it up because I think that when Sue mentioned it, she wasn't bothered by 1 through 4, she just wanted it to match the house. So I think there was a little bit of discussion, and I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that by approving that ordinance, you approved the conditions of 1 through 4.
Yes, but I'm saying number 4 where it says use of different color siding, is that where your concern was at?
Nope. Just in general, that everybody understood that 1 through 4.
You are planning on trying to get as close to the color of your house with the garage, right?
Number 4, though, means by the Plan Commission that they were looking for an additional siding, like, pattern in the gable area.
Okay.
So like in that triangular area up top, that you would do something different, like, I don't know, like a
Accent.
fishtail or whatever the different kinds of patterns. that
Shake
you can
roof
do,
looking, maybe a shake or some type
Versus
of
just the,
8-inch, standard 8-inch or
siding.
6-inch hardy board siding. or
Oh, I
cement
see.
board.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Wait, so we're on B, so we're on,
Right
we had,
now.
it's everyone, it's a no, right?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Madam Clerk?
Make sure that they understand.
I think they do.
Yeah, good call.
Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
But you have to make sure that they understand it.
They agreed, Joe spoke to him, they're going to talk to him later. Yep.
We'll work on the design. that'll
Trustee
be-
Fialko.
No.
Trustee Mason.
No.
Trustee Stylen.
No.
Trustee Consolino.
No.
Okay, motion fails.
So the second part is just you have to come back to us with.
No, they don't have to come back.
It would meet code,
Okay.
and I'll work with them on meeting code
Right.
before I issue the permit.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Thank you. L4, consider for approval the amended Mayor and Village Board Standard Operating Procedure Number 001 to reflect the removal of the Admin and Finance Committee, establishing the Community Development Committee, and updated name changes to Economic Development and Community Festival Committee.
I'll make that motion.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Trustee Fielk, go right ahead.
Actually, I have a parliamentary inquiry from our legal counsel on this one before we proceed, and that would be at our meeting previous to this, we took and we got rid of admin and finance in that process, and yet we have an SOP 001 that has that in it. I just want to make sure, you know, doing one before, should we have done the SOP first and then the ordinance, or should we have done the ordinance like we did and then make the adjustment to the SOP? Or collectively at the same time, should it have been done?
I don't think the SOPs are codified, right? They were just written
Can you explain
after.
codified?
Yeah, so that is when you take action and you approve. This board codifies or takes action making an SOP law. What this board does is they pass the ordinances and the resolutions, and the staff creates a SOP to mirror what's outlined in the law. So when we change the law here at this board level, the staff then goes back to the SOP and modifies it to match the new law. It doesn't come back for us to codify.
So in fact, there's actually two SOPs, but this is the one we commonly use. There's another one that was actually written before
So
this.
if that's the fact, though, that we don't come back on it, we're adding something, but are you saying that admin and finance shouldn't have been in here as one of the items then? Because it's the removal of admin and finance, and you said once we changed the law, which took place at the meeting before this, but yet we're here for the SOP where you're saying we don't change.
I don't think it needs to come back here, right, Carmen? The SOPs don't come back here, do they? So why is it coming back?
They come back because on an annual basis, they have to be reviewed by the board. Because.
But it was removed.
Admin and finance was restricting on the last ordinance. It's a change to the SOP, so it needs to be motioned.
Okay, so I'd like to make the motion to remove.
Well, the motion has already been made to remove.
No, I made the motion. I'm making a motion on the motion.
Oh.
I'm going to remove, because it doesn't have to be in there. Procedure number one, to reflect, all we're going to remove is the removal of administration and finance committee. And then procedure number one, to reflect establishing the community. So if we start here, the removal of the admin and finance committee, right?
There's more.
So you want to remove the verbiage of removing the admin and finance because it's already been removed?
Correct.
Yeah, but this is, I understand what Paul's saying because it's not an ordinance or any, this is just standard operating procedures within the village hall for staff.
Yeah, he's saying it shouldn't be in here.
So I don't even, to be honest with you, I don't even know why it's here in the first
Right,
place.
so he's saying it shouldn't be in here, so I'm making a motion.
No, I mean, I don't even understand why this whole agenda item is in here if this is just an SOP for staff.
Well, I didn't ask for it to be in.
I did not either. That's why I was just confused. So I in fact, I wanted to speak with each committee and make sure that we understand that this is what each committee is supposed to be doing. And under community festival committee, there's actually nothing under there. There's no standard operating procedures.
Would it be better if we table it then?
Right. Let's table it and I'll Carmen and we'll figure it out.
Okay, I'll remove my motion to amend and I'll remove my motion to consider.
And make a motion to table.
And I need to have the second removed. You'll remove your second?
Yes, and I will remove my second.
Okay, now I'll make the motion to table L4.
And now is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye. And so our goal here is to get the correct verbiage on here and bring it back, right?
Yes, if it needs, right.
If it needs to.
Right, and I'll work with Carmen on that.
Okay. Well, when we say, we usually say table indefinitely or to the next meeting, or, so we'll figure it out. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, Dan.
Consider for approval the updated 2023 meeting schedule calendar for the Village Board, Plan Commission, and committees. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Is there a second?
And I'll second.
Discussion, Trustee Stylen?
None.
Trustee Mason?
Not at this time.
Trustee Fialko?
No, I have nothing.
Trustee Consolino?
Surprise.
Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider for approval a proposal for the current technologies for camera equipment and service contract to install a video security system for the Village Hall in the amount of $10,943.02.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion, Trustee Fialko?
The reason I made, yes, I've got a little bit of history on this since it was right around 2 years ago that the cameras in the hallways and outside, there were one or two in the front, that we were notified that there was some type of chip in there that for government agencies that it could be hacked. Now, I know ours didn't connect to a system possibly where it could be, but it was a precautionary measure to disconnect them. So the shopping, I think we've gotten bids before on this that were off the charts. And in the meantime, we had come up with surveillance through Imperial out in the park. So we had spent a lot of money out in the park on those cameras. And these cameras, we knew we had to be replaced, but the village manager was handling that at the time. And Matt then was gone, he was handling it. Then now we have Carmen, and I talked about Carmen. I think we need to have the security in the hallways. Now, the way I understand it and the way it's read here, it's no sound on it. So after a village board meeting, nobody's being recorded sound-wise, just video if there was something that Lieutenant Taylor had to use, if there was something type of crime that had. So that's the way I understand it up to this point. What I was concerned about was we have Imperial Service right now that we have a contract. And this is where I want everybody to be. This is an admin and finance thing that would have come up. When we pick somebody, a lot of times these service contracts are buried in the details where you have to pay an annual fee. And the first time in the first round that I went through, there were 9% increases, and I brought it back and had it renegotiated down to, I think it was 1 or 2% a year instead of the 9% it was at. So to the new board members, I just want to put that precautionary thing out there to always, when we have contracts, look for what's buried in the details as far as the contract that comes with the video camera, because it has to sometimes be, now this may be different, I'm going to ask Carmen. I know Mike is running the camera, Mike's name is on this, Mike is our IT guy. I know that we've been looking at these for a while, but Carmen, could you give us an update? I think what we'd like to focus on is, okay, we've got this contract, it's so many cameras, it's not a business in Homer Glen, which I frown upon, because I think maybe we could have found somebody in Homer Glen that would be a business here that we could have utilized. But in the meantime, for this to be, for discussion-wise, can you explain the cameras exactly where they're at? The ones that we'd be buying, and the service contract. I couldn't see the service contract and how it would interface. Now, I know we were saving some money because with this company here, we have some pending money from money we've spent, it looks like, that they kind of owe us, and we're saving $4,000 somewhere along the line. But I don't know if that's actually savings as to it's a credit. It looks like, to me, it's more of a credit than it is a savings. And so, without me rambling on any further, could you help us out, Carmen?
Yeah, so you're right, it is a credit with current. We do pay current monthly fee, and we build up credits if we don't utilize our credits. You know, we get offers like this. You know, current is one of our largest technology we use for, you know, our servers, email interface, there's a lot of different things to use it for. These cameras were to replace the cameras that don't work. They literally are not.
And who was managing those cameras before? The ones that don't work right now?
Mike, do you know who managed the cameras before this? Do you remember the service?
Yeah, what do you mean by manage the cameras? Like who installed them and was?
Well, the contract that comes with them for storage and monitoring and all that stuff.
The current cameras that we have installed, so hold on. Current is the name of this company, but I'm talking about the cameras that we're actively using when I say current. So the cameras that we're actively using right now, we do pay Imperial monthly fee to maintain them. However, the software that is used to run them is a perpetual license that we have when you buy the camera itself. It's an Access camera is the brand. So that software is, we're not paying anyone for that on a monthly basis.
But with current, you're saying with current, there is no contract, no contract that goes with it?
There's no contract that goes with installing the cameras. I mean, we do have.
Not installing it, but like a monthly fee, like Imperial's got on every camera that's in this park. We have a service contract built in.
Yes.
Where is the service contract for these? And if they break, who's going to maintain them?
That would just fall under the active contract that we have with Current Technologies. They're our MSP, and they provide supplemental like IT support for whatever we would need.
When you say it falls under the contract, what you mean though, it's the contract we have with them, and then they would bill us as needed, not that we'd have a monthly fee to pay, correct?
You're correct.
Okay.
Mike, so when you say that we've paid for the licensing of these, so now go ahead.
As soon as each camera comes with a license, a perpetual license for the software. So the cameras that we have right now are the software with it is already licensed. We're just paying Imperial to help maintain if anything breaks or whatnot, because they're the ones that installed it. So before I was here, but someone signed a contract with them to maintain any issues that might occur.
But you need to be clear on that, Mike. The Imperial is only outside as far as I know.
Correct, yes.
So I guess like what Curtis is asking, I'm guessing why didn't we just kind of tag on to Imperial's contract that they have already? We save some money by using the same contractor that already takes care of the rest of the cameras.
Well, I mean, we did. One of the 4 quotes is from Imperial, but they were just more expensive.
Trustee Consolino, you second the motion. Did you have anything to add before I open it up to the other trustees?
No, just that I wish this would have been hashed out at ANF.
Employee Pierce, how long have we been investigating this?
Since I started, at least.
Since you started, and when was
well,
that?
I mean, I have been since I started, and I assume we have been before that as well.
And when did you start?
February.
February, and we are now in the month of June. So again, just to point out, everyone keeps bringing up ANF. Here we are in June, and it's finally at the dais. So, excuse me, Trustee Fiocco, let me just finish with the rest of the trustees before I get back to you. Trustee Mason, did you have anything to add? No. Trustee Steilen?
No.
Trustee Fiocco?
The only clarification I want to give, because you listed a whole bunch of stuff for ANF last time, that it was this long, that long, and now you kind of just said it again. Everything that went to ANF was staff generated. Carmen, is that correct?
We generated.
Right. Anything that would be delayed would be coming from the staff side, not the committee of ANF. The committee of ANF never delayed anything. We handled things right away, except for the roof went back and forth a little bit for the roof on this building. But for the most part, anything that's been listed here last meeting or right now, would you say that this was an ANF issue that was overlooked? Or was it staff generated to bring it to ANF, right?
Well, when I got in the office, this actually was presented to me by the previous IT person. I just thought the quotes were extreme. And then I requested new quotes. quotes.
Right.
You know, as we start going through time, they were.
My question, though, is the A&F question, it's everybody's ping-ponging back and forth. It's not the responsibility of A&F to ask for something to come, except the contracts that, in A&F, the only thing I did ask for was contracts that would be 2 months out.
But no one's saying.
But what I'm saying here is you're blaming A&F.
Nobody blamed
for
A&F.
time factor.
Nobody
At the other
blamed
meeting,
A&F.
You did.
No, I did not.
Oh, you can go back, and I even asked staff.
No, I was not blaming A&F. My point was, it takes this long to get to A&F. All of the trustees that are sitting up here are capable of reading through this and making a decision, and don't need to have three trustees telling them what they recommend to the other trustees. You guys were all voted in, an equal.
There's no argument that.
You guys were all equally have the same rights, so I mean.
This agreement is with the time factor that you're saying A&F had some control over.
No, my point at the last meeting was that everyone kept saying I was packing in the agenda. No, that wasn't packing in the agenda. That was all this stuff that was being brought forward because it was waiting to go to A&F, from my understanding. That's why I pointed out for the last meeting.
Madam Mayor, can I have the floor?
Trustee Fialko, are you done?
Sure.
Things sat in A&F forever, regardless of why they sat there. We saw that at the other meeting, and you're right, we all have the capability of reading through these packets, making an educated decision at that point, and it doesn't take. So some things were from 21, some were from 22, some were from February.
This is where you're wrong.
Well,
that's what I'm saying. You're right about we can do it now. We have we all have the ability to take and go through these things. I'm not, there's no argument there. I agree. I'm okay with what we're doing right now on this trial basis, like we called it. But what I'm saying is, you can even ask Carmen, there's nothing that's said in A&F like you just said. That's the only part you're incorrect about. And I was there, so I know. And Carmen was there, and Joe's always there, and so is Gia Casson always there, and so is Brent West. Nothing sat in A&F. It didn't work that way.
My point of saying that is,
A&F.
You know, when people make comments like, I wish it went to A&F, well, I apologize, but I wouldn't want it someone else telling me what I should do. I mean, I would still do my due diligence and have inform my own opinion. I wouldn't want someone else telling me. My point of the time frame was to show that I was being blamed for packing the agenda. That's why I wanted to let everyone know how long it was sitting, that it could have either waited or could have went prior to an earlier meeting. At this point, I think we're getting off topic of what we're talking about, so Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Motion carries. Old business? Is there any old business?
Do you mind who goes first?
Trustee Fialko, go right ahead.
Okay. Since we've rolled into the new board here, we were at a position with Local 150 negotiations. And since then, we have not heard any information about Local 150 at all. I'd like us to be updated on what's taking place. I know where we left off. I don't know if we're at liberty to say where we left off. Paul, are we at liberty to say where we left off at least, or no?
I can tell you that our office, Trustee Fialko, our office has been in contact with Deanna D'Estasio for 150. Emails have been exchanged. We're getting ready to get back at it. The mediator asked the union to put together a list of outstanding items.
Okay.
That's where we're at.
So mediator, you said the key word, it's in mediation.
Correct.
So, all right, so everybody knows that's in mediation. But now, if there's continued negotiations, we've always had two people involved in those negotiations. Should mediation not work out, and I just want to know the process. Are we going to be bringing that information to the executive board, go into executive session, discuss it, and if there's going to be continued negotiations for some reason, who is going to be that second person with you? Usually, it's been the village manager. Will that continue to be the same?
I have no objection to that, whoever wants.
All right. I would like that to continue since Carmen knows the history since we've gotten started.
I will also be present.
Carmen and I are meeting Monday on it.
Okay, perfect. Just so, because I haven't heard anything about it since we started.
There's been a lot of back and forth.
Mosquito abatement, that started, right? Did they do the first spray already, right?
They've done a spray a month ago, but for the fest, we're gonna start the 4 days.
Right, I know about that. I just mean for the general public to cover all of Homer Glen. It's already started. Just so everybody knows, on the website that's posted out there on the front page about the pollinators and how it does not affect the pollinators. As far as the Lakota group downtown study, is that completed now?
I was just going to say, Jeannie.
We're about to receive a summary from Lakota about the public engagement process that they've been involved in. There's a steering committee meeting scheduled for July 18th, I believe it is, to discuss all of that. The market analysis is ongoing right now, and that should, I think, wrap up around the end of July. So they're following the process as set forth, and that's the activities they'll be doing this summer.
All right, well, thank you for that update, yeah.
Is that all, Trustee Bill? Trustee Consolino, do you have anything for old business? No. Trustee Mason? No. Trustee Stylen?
I just want to be able to hear an update on what's happening with Trantina. With the dirt there, I had asked if we could see a certificate of that it was safe or there was nothing in the soil.
I can give you a brief update. Myself, Margaret Sabo, and Gail Schneider, who was on the telephone, met with Brett Westcott, just asked some questions. He did say when the original soil came in, it did have some debris. It had blacktop grindings. It had some piping and some other things. So he did request that they remove that and put the clean soil, which we were guaranteed to do. We had discussed a testing on the soil, but since we found out it came from a development area in Orland Park, which had clean soil, which, by the way, when they brought the soil over, there is a contract that said it must be clean soil. So it is, so I said, let's hold off on the expensive testing until we find out more information. I have another meeting with Brett Westcott and Carmen coming up next week. And with Mr. Balich as well.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that, I apologize. Anybody else? Nothing? Okay, new business, is there any new business? Trustee Fialco? I'm just always going to start with you.
Did you bring your MyPill? No, here we go. As far as us moving forward, you know, I know we're looking at a downtown area through the Lakota group, and I know we've had a lot of problems with our water. I think that our village is in good shape. I think we have an attorney that's dealt with water before, and I think it's time for us to start looking at our own water reclamation center and to move forward with that, because we have to kind of not be babysitted by anybody. We got to put our big boy pants on, big girl pants on, and become our own village. And part of that is not handcuffing ourselves with the water. And the way we start with that is by building our own water reclamation center, so we're not at the beck and call of the Bonnie Bray facility. We're not tied to anybody. And once we start shifting the people off of that and onto ours, is it correct? We end up making that sewer fee for the village. So in the forefront, it might cost us a little bit of money to get started, right? Mm-hmm. But in the long run, which we have to think long-term for the village, right? That's going to help us out. And I think we're in a great position right now to start looking at that, to start doing that. And I know something came up for a meeting that we're going to have shortly about it, and thank you for starting that, but I think we're heading in the right direction with that, because being at some other villages kind of like holding us hostage with that, and I know it expires, but I don't know what the conversation would be outside of that, other than us being on our own.
But first, just to give you an update, Trustee Fialco, we do have our first water meeting on June 21st at 9 a.m. I don't believe there is a trustee that is in attendance, but if a trustee would like to be present, one trustee would like to be present so we don't violate the Open Meetings Act, I'm okay with that. June 21st at 9 a.m.
And who's that meeting with?
That's me and Christina.
And Brett Westcott and John Sawyers and staff.
Yeah,
Just to,
I scheduled 2x2s.
I would love to be there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just trying to get the ball rolling so then we can come to this meeting, a meeting, and have more discussion about it.
Village Manager, Marilla, now, our agreement with Lockport expires 2030, correct?
The wastewater agreement does expire in 2030. Our boundary agreement expires in 2024.
What expires in 2024?
Our boundary agreement?
Okay. But for the water, because I know Lockport's put it out there publicly, you know, that they're not going to be getting us water, it's because they can't produce it with Bonnie Bray, correct?
Yeah, Bonnie Bray is degraded faster than they anticipated. They are in phase 1 of engineering for an upgrade to the Division Street plant with no expectations on when that would be finalized.
Just to be clear, the boundary agreement and the water reclamation agreement with Lockport, though they are with the other towns of Lockport, one doesn't have to do with the other. I mean, the boundary agreement won't affect the water, and the water doesn't affect the boundary agreement, correct?
Well, yeah, it kind of does because there's property that, you know, is within the Homer Glen boundary that is unincorporated that could potentially, because we don't have wastewater.
Depending on where we locate?
Yeah, we don't have wastewater sewer facilities or anything. Those properties could essentially be taken if the boundary agreement isn't solid.
So would your recommendation be to take care of our boundary agreement first and settle that somehow, or can we start on water reclamation?
So that's a conversation I wanted to have with the board.
Okay.
Lockport's came back with some things that I'd like to discuss, so that's why we're going to start having 2x2s so we can not violating any Open Meetings Act, and then we can give you guys a big update going forward.
And there is grant funding available if we were interested in water treatment, correct?
Yes.
And we could also use our American Recovery Act funding for, I think I asked John Sawyer that during a meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
The last thing, anybody else on water? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Thank you, Trustee Fialco. You and I had talked a while back about this, and you said that, of course, we can't have somebody else holding us hostage, as Trustee Fialco stated. You said the initial cost, preliminary, off the top of your head, was between 6 and 10 million. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's preliminary costs that we're looking at right now, yeah.
Okay. And it can be upwards of
25 million?
40 million, correct?
When you get into a larger plant, yeah, you can get up into the 40 million.
All right. Thank you, Carmen.
Can we, even if we start at half of, let's say a third of that, can you build on to those things as time progresses, or do you have to do it all at one time?
So the goal of the village is to progressively grow that plant. So we're looking at facilitating a smaller plant, and as the need increases, we would increase the plant. So it wouldn't be so much of an upfront cost. And the reason we're doing that is we're looking for the users to get on that plant first. You know, right now we have a gas station, maybe a few homes or something like that, but nothing major. As we start progressing with development, because we're mapping out a certain MGD plant right now, as we increase our development on 159th corridor, we can definitely increase the capacity moving forward. So we're looking at a general area of where we would like to put our facility planning area to encompass that. But we don't want to start with a $40 million plant. We would like to start with a smaller plant that we can additionally add on to over time to create a little easement to.
And that will only help out that side of Homer Glen, correct?
So in conjunction with doing a wastewater treatment facility, we also want to do a master plan for sewer water in the entire village. So that's something we're looking at too. We don't know where it could end up, you know.
The only other, I'm sorry, water, if we're not done, I'm thinking about something else.
It's okay. Is there anything else on the water? Trustee Fialco?
The only thing I'd like to add, and we talked about it earlier, Carmen, John Sawyer, when he came to the meetings for, I don't want to say, ANF, let's say, that makes it softer. He used to give us these packets and these graphs, right? And so what I'd like us, everybody got them emailed to them. I'd like them to be included in the packet so we can go through it and we can explain to the public as to where we're at with certain numbers, like the tax on gas for parks is way down because the cost of gas in Homer Glen is way up. So people are going other places to buy gas. So for you to see that on a chart in a meeting and for the public to see it is very informative because you can see where the money's coming in faster than we expected it. You can see where it's not coming in, where we actually need it at some points. And parks is just the example. So if we could include that stuff that we used to have in that packet, in our board packet, that'd be great.
That's usually created once a month.
Yep, I know.
So you're okay with the
First meeting of the month.
Okay, that's all I want to clarify.
Anybody else have anything for new business? The only thing I forgot to add was that Mega Pass sales, I'm sorry, Trustee Fielkow, I don't know if you mentioned that already. Did they end tomorrow? Or the early bird, is that tomorrow that they end? I believe it is tomorrow, or today, was it today? The 14th. So the pre-sale for, I think it's $10 cheaper, ended today, I believe. Trustee Fielkow, do you have the answer?
I don't know, maybe we could do something to extend that. I'll make a call tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't know where we're at in sales. I didn't ask, that was a one and only question. I didn't ask today.
Okay, we have no items for workshop. We clearly went through that earlier today. We don't have anything for executive session that I understand. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
And I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great evening.